Don't you know who I am? I am Chocolate Chip Charlie. My hands are registered with the Medford, Georgia Police's Lethal Weapons, and I eat them podcasts for breakfast. Welcome to Additional Crew, the spoiler-heavy review show where we choose whatever film we want to talk about. This episode, we bring to you a delicious, mysterious goo that oozes from the earth is marketed as the newest dessert sensation. But the tasty treat rots more than teeth when zombie-like snackers who only want to consume more of the strange substance at any cost begin infesting the world. I'm, of course, talking about Larry Cohen's famous film, The Stuff. But before we get into that film and before we talk more about that, I should introduce the host today. So I'm Nick, hanging out with you all the time. And with me today is Adam. Adam, how about you just briefly introduce yourself, Adam? We're happy to have you here.
Hi, I'm Adam. I love movies. I love talking about movies. I've been involved with movies for decades. I've seen everything that's terrible, and I guess I've missed a lot of good stuff. And I have a huge physical media collection. If you want to check that out, at VHS Goblin on Instagram's got all my stuff, and I want to talk about the stuff here.
Yeah, heck yeah. Again, thanks for joining us, Adam. It's my pleasure really to have him on board here. So we're gonna just kind of jump really into this film. So we're gonna start off with their very best. Their very best. If you've been listening lately, you'll know we're gonna just talk about the actors in this film, the main build actors and the director, and we're gonna give our favorite roles that they've had prior. I don't know if you want to start off, Adam, with some Michael Moriarty.
So the first time I saw the stuff, I was a little kid. So
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know Michael Moriarty.
That's
Now
fair.
when I watch him, it's mostly Law and Order.
Mm-hmm.
I know him
Mm-hmm.
from that and Q. I would try to pronounce the actual name of the movie, but I think they ended up naming it Q because it's too hard to Quetzalcoatl. Quetzalcoatl. Uh,
Quetzalcoatl.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
Yes.
So I knew him from those. He was to me always really interesting because back then he was really anti. There was a lot of Janet Reno in particular. Video games were bad, violent movies were bad, all of these things were bad, Clinton era. And Michael Moriarty went nuts about it. Like fought it, and actually moved to Canada in protest of it and quit doing movies. So I
Oh,
knew
okay.
him from that. I'm counterculture, so I thought he was legit for that. But other than that, pretty much Law and Order, right? Because that would be playing in the house. Dun, dun,
I love these countercultures in Law and Order. That seems to be a theme of Law and Order in particular.
dun. Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome. I'd only so the stuff was the first place I had seen him as well. I had no idea who this guy was, and I was like, "Who is this dude? He's goofy, in the best way possible." But then I watched Q the Winged Serpent, and his role as Jimmy in that was vaguely similar, pretty funny.
Yep.
He's got a tone about him, I would say.
Well,
You just
he's a
can't.
cadence driven actor, right? It's almost
Yeah.
like he speaks in iambic pentameter, but the South
Hmm.
version,
Hmm.
But all of his
Yeah.
acting is really done in his eyes.
Which is wild because it's just one of those things. Michael Moriarty has an immediately recognizable face. I don't know that
Yeah.
you can pick him apart in a crowd very easily, even though he kind of has just like this tall white dude look going for him,
His eyes will just cut through you in a crowd.
It's true. It's true. One of the roles that he was in was the movie Troll, and this one always stuck out to me because his name in Troll is Harry Potter.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
And I always wondered if this is just where the J.K. Rowling got her name for the movie because she stole Hogwarts from the Labyrinth. You know,
Troll's on my top 10 shelf, by the way. It
yeah.
is one of my favorites of all time.
Troll and Troll 2, while different tone, they're both wonderful films to watch in their own right. Just right place, right time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I
but
always wanted
yeah,
to live in that apartment jungle though. I was like, why can't people just have that?
straight up, like, come on.
I mean, the humidity would be an issue, I'm sure, but
I don't think the landlords would like it, but everyone else would. You could have some birds, some monkey. Anyways, but yeah, so I always kind of growing up as a millennial, seeing Harry Potter in a movie, I was like, wait a minute, hold on, and I could never forget that role for that one reason. It's wild. Um, Garrett Morris. What do you know about Garrett Morris?
Chocolate Chip Charlie. I knew
Yeah,
him from SNL,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So
Mm-hmm,
early days
mm-hmm.
SNL, he was kind of the bit guy, early. And then later on in his career, Martin Lawrence used to have a show on Fox called Martin, and
Yep.
he was a main actor on that. I remember him from that. But for me, his most standout role is in the stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
That
Hmm.
it's it.
So you can't go. I mean, Chocolate Chip Charlie, even just the name, and we'll talk about it. But the penultimate scene in this film really is driven by Garrett Morris's character.
Yeah,
Um, I liked his role in Coneheads, Captain Ore Cruiser. It was a small one, but
dude, right.
yeah.
Oh, that's a blast from the past. Yeah, totally.
And then Saturday Night Live. You can't go wrong with the early Saturday Night Live, the '70s,
No,
'80s.
and I don't want to be a snob about it, but that was like core SNL, you know.
It was when it was still a unique idea. It's hard to recapture the magic of like something novel,
Yes.
especially after 30 years. He was also in the show This Is Us, which was like the biggest tearjerker show of all time, where it was every episode was in every scene was
Was
basically made
he
to
the
make you cry.
dad? Was
Yeah,
he the
yeah,
long lost dad of the adopted son?
yeah. He sure was.
Dude, because I've seen it.
Yeah,
I did not realize until right now.
I didn't know until I was looking this up right beforehand, and I was like, no
Really?
way, that was this
That's
dude. Are you
him?
kidding me?
Oh,
The
he's
guy
got
who was in the
dramatic
stuff.
acting chops too.
Mhm. And that show is
He's so
so,
good in that.
yeah,
Oh, I mean, it hates your soul when you watch it, but it's good.
that's
Yeah.
exactly the way I describe it. It's like every episode. I wouldn't even watch all of them in a row. I just catch like every third episode. I'd still be like, oh my god, it hurts.
Yeah. Emotional abuse is okay sometimes, but
Yeah.
it's hard all the time. That's a great show. Great show.
um,
That's
and then we thought,
awesome.
yeah, I know, it's crazy. What's wild about this is that both Garrett Morris and Michael Moriarty are still alive. Garrett Morris is like almost 90 years old. You got to eat the stuff. It's healthy for you. They talk about it. Um,
They don't eat the stuff.
well, Garrett Morris might a little bit.
Oh, is
But
that that's spoiler though?
I know, I know. We'll get there. We'll get there.
Are we spoiler heavy?
We are spoiler heavy. Very if
Yeah, I
you
don't think it was his choice though. He's at the diner and gets jacked up by a bunch of people. That's not his fault.
no, it's not his fault. I'm not. Look, Chocolate Chip Charlie is still a hero in my mind. All right,
Yeah,
they sent him in at the end
yeah.
because they knew what they were doing. That wasn't his fault. Larry Cohen. Larry Cohen has a bunch of good films. I'm gonna go ahead and start off with my absolute favorite Larry Cohen film is Black Caesar. Uh, like that's
Okay.
just such a good film. And then I actually wrote God Told Me To in the stuff, or my other two favorite, because God Told Me To. We talked about this beforehand, but it's Jesus with a vagina on his chest, and just a lot of iffy decisions otherwise. But it's something that I don't think you'll ever see in another film, and I'll
Yeah,
appreciate it for that.
yeah, absolutely. I do enjoy his exploitation films, those 70s films that he did. I thought they were pretty good. I do enjoy a good sexploitation or exploitation film, especially when it's relevant, like his
Hmm.
was.
Hmm.
My favorite movie of his is The Stuff. It's like not even close. I love this movie. It is painted in all the colors and candies that I like. It is my childhood. That is when I grew up. I am old. Dating myself here, but that is when I grew up. So it's like a blanket, a warm, snuggly blanket. It's just everything I wanted from him. The first movie I ever saw of his was It's Alive. And I remember seeing that when I was 8 years old at my stepdad's house. And he had quite the collection of horror VHS. And so I watched a lot of Creep Show there and stuff like that. But I remember watching It's Alive, and I remember it because Dead Baby and Carriage, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
there's this whole scene with Demon Dead Baby, and like my mind wasn't able to comprehend what was happening, right? Because like
Yeah,
none of
yeah.
this is okay. And you probably shouldn't be showing an 8 year old that anyways. And but that like certain VHS covers stick in my head.
Hmm.
That one and that scene, every time I'd walk to the VHS store and you'd see the stroller and It's Alive, it's in my head, man. It traumatized me as a child, and so I would say that's probably up there as well. But just because of its effect, it
Yeah,
made me
yeah.
weird.
Mhm, mhm. No, I feel that. I feel that. Yeah, and I will say this: like, it's something that I've noticed with everyone I've talked about with horror films in particular is whatever movie you saw when you were way too young to see it ends up being one of your favorites. There's just no way around it.
See, that's the problem with me is I was force fed most of them in the
Okay.
80s. So
Yeah.
80s horror is like a lane for me. Late 70s, 80s horror, high fantasy stuff. things like
Yeah,
that. They
yeah, yeah.
liked exploitation. They had a ton of like Russ Meyer and things, and so those are all things I watch now. But Larry Cohen was transcendent of a lot of that stuff. I think he really was talented, whereas a lot of that stuff was really stuff like the stuff, corn
Mhm,
syrupy.
mhm. Well, Larry Cohen, he has a pretty unique view on it. So even the movies where you're like, you can feel out where he's going with it. He has a very different take.
Yeah.
Like we'll talk about this film a lot more, but one thing I love about this film is it doesn't feel like any other movies.
No,
Not exactly.
it's you know, it's yeah, we'll talk about it. I definitely have words.
And speaking of which, you know what? Let's just go ahead and dive into this. So, as we were talking, the stuff is about a goo that comes out of the ground that someone finds and immediately decides they wanted to eat it. They love the taste of it and they market it and sell it everywhere. Becomes an
Right.
overnight sensation. I think I heard like 20
It's at a
million people
mining
read it.
quarry in Georgia, and
Yeah.
that's where it's set. And that guy just sees white stuff bubbling out of the ground, and what's his first call? I'm gonna put
Throw
this
it in
in
his
my
mouth.
mouth.
Yeah.
He
And then
loved it though.
immediately like put his fingers in someone else's mouth, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Force fed it to somebody.
Yeah,
Love that scene.
and it immediately becomes a gigantic sensation. And how could it not? I'm going to talk about the first thing I have to say with this movie, and I have to say this very first overall, is the marketing music for the stuff is so stupidly catchy that I still get that tune stuck in my head all the time randomly as I'm walking throughout places. Just like you
The
can't
color
get
palette on
enough.
it as well
Yeah, it's so good. Like
slaps.
if this was an actual product somewhere, it probably would be very successful.
So the first time I saw this movie was on USA Up All Night, back 90, I don't know, I was like 10 years old. And I had a TV in my room and I wasn't supposed to stay up late, but I did. And USA Up All Night used to be a show that they had where they would play kind of exploitation-y horror movies from like 11 till 2 in the morning or something. And it was either you got Gilbert Gottfried or Rhonda Shear. And I got Rhonda Shear for this
Yeah.
one. But they did something special with Larry Cohen during the commercial breaks in between like the smut ads and the 1-900 numbers. They had stuff commercials tied into it.
Oh, I love that. No way.
Oh,
Yes.
dude. So like that
So good.
whole like I remember them in my brain as legitimate commercials that played with other things. It was so cool back in the day when they would do stuff like that on TV. But yeah, they worked with him. He had a bunch of B-roll commercials that he made that were all like that, and so they played during that. And I hope someday somebody uploads a copy of it. You know what I'm saying?
I have to remember. I've had this Blu-ray copy that I reviewed for quite a long time, and I remember when I first got it. One of the special features is a whole bunch of the ads for this movie,
Yeah,
and they're all just so good. Like it's not just what made it in this movie. Whatever he was doing to remake commercials, and
yeah.
whoever he had write the songs for him, which I should probably know, but I don't right now, was wonderful. It was just so good, and it just sticks in your head so well. It's wild.
It's
Um,
perfect.
hmm So this movie story is kind of it starts in one place but it travels all over. So you've got an corporate
Quickly,
spy.
it travels
Yes.
all over.
Very very quickly. So they market the stuff. It shows up on shelves. One family has it in their Jason's family. I don't remember any of their names besides Jason. You get to see some family drama there, and then you're introduced to Michael Moriarty's character, who is a corporate spy, and is
Yep,
hired to go and find out what's in the stuff.
right by the ice cream company.
Yes, and the ice cream. So they
And
want to
all of
create.
these like CEOs are very villainy, right? Like
Yes, yes.
mustache twirling villains.
hmm with one of the greatest introduction scenes, the hey, oh look at you, sweaty palm. Hey, sweaty palm,
It's just sweaty palm.
sweaty palm,
Dude,
my
that
sweaty
is
palm.
hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, another sweaty palm.
Just I don't know if they wrote that lines or if Michael Moriarty was making it up. I do hear he ad
So
libbed quite a bit of it.
that's what I've heard too. He
hmm
ad-libbed a lot of it. But what a way to come into a room and assert dominance, right?
Yeah, no joke. Immediately just talk about someone else's palms.
Yeah.
And it works because it's also kind of charming, like it's a joke, but it's not.
His voice
Um,
speaks in that pentameter again, and
mhm.
it's almost, I won't say like a lullaby, but it's very calming. It's like Valium coming out of his mouth. You can't help but be pulled
Right,
in by what he's
right.
saying.
It's got that hospitality to where you're like, oh, even if he's insulting me, he still sounds like my
Right.
friend.
I'd still smile about it, right? Be
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah.
cool.
You're right, sweaty palm. You're exactly right.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
nervous.
So we follow him investigating first the FDA, then the town in which the stuff came from, or well, the company that produces it came from. And to explain it right here would just be to say he ends up fighting the stuff and trying to get it banned or stopped from production because the stuff takes over people's bodies and turns them into stuffies.
Very invasion of the body snatchery. But instead of, there's no, I assume, they kind of play that the stuff is semi-sentient, like it has a agenda and a
Mm-hmm.
mind control ability, but it's really the corporate overlords that kind of push the evil into the world. It's like something exists, but it needed a vehicle to get there. So
Yeah.
it's difficult for me to lean on the stuff as like a monster or a bad guy in the movie. I feel like it just is, and it is what it is. It's a bad thing, but it's not inherently like chaotic evil, right? Like,
It's
or
also
maybe it is. Maybe it came out of the ground and found that one guy because he knew this guy will eat anything,
yeah. I was waiting for him. It's like, yeah, that guy.
right?
That's the one.
That guy. Look at him.
I mean, I'm jumping around a little bit here, but the scene where they are around the trucks and the stuff is just bubbling out of the pit, and it has all of those. I want to say they're almost like sentinel stuff monsters.
You know what they
They're like,
remind me of? Is Johnny
well,
Five's head. It's like
I'm
that.
not.
It's that square top with like the little post below
Oh
it.
yeah,
So
okay.
Johnny Five from Short Circuit. It
It took
just
me a
reminds me
second.
of a
Yeah,
bunch of Johnny Fives coming out of the. Yeah.
I wrote down in my notes. I was like, what is this like their natural form? Is this thing, or is that just what they choose for this particular space? And I already recognize I'm never going to get an answer to that question.
I mean, you might.
Maybe we'll find out Larry Cohen actually has a manifesto written somewhere about what the stuff really is. Uh, but I love it because that's the one scene where it's like, okay, so the stuff is fully sentient. It can even create its own structures that look like animals. However,
Yeah.
it doesn't do anything with that. So
No, it
so the
never
core is
goes
blown up.
like you said. We were talking about Terminator 2. No, it never goes full liquid metal mode. No, it's not like running down the road after people. Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
I feel like they might have if they had the technology at the
so
time.
so that's why I feel like it needed an evil person
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
to make it evil, right? Because it didn't seem like it was walking off on its own.
Right, and who better than a CEO of
Of
a
a mining and
dessert
oil
company?
company.
Yeah, you
No,
start there, then
yeah, it was mining and oil, and they're like, "No, we a dessert company now."
that's right. They shut down. Yeah, it's the perfect little message. So I do believe Larry Cohen meant this whole thing about consumerism. So you can find that pretty easy if you follow the story here. And it's in different forms because I want to say when he meets with Colonel Spears, that's just a different
Mhm.
form of consumerism. And I want to say like right wing media. And I won't get too much into how that reminds me of
I
today,
think
but
back then, and this is of the age, right?
mhm,
Second Amendment people, freedom from tyranny of government people were all very extremely right leaning, right?
yeah, yeah,
And so I think that that might be also just at the time. Like
yeah, yeah.
that was just what things were then. I don't think in any movie you really see a militia like that portrayed as anything but conservative,
Sure,
right?
sure.
Um, and I think that's fair
Hmm.
to call it what it is, but um, yeah, they made them extra militant, like
They were ready to
extra.
go.
So
They
I
were
think
storming places with machine guns.
in taxi cabs,
Yeah, they did give a 10% tips. They're not evil people.
no, dude, they saved the world.
That's true. That's true.
They did.
Um. Okay, so I'll go back a little bit. So the story of the stuff is wrapped up in this detective movie that turns into a bit of a monster movie, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and ends with an action comedy. I would say by about the time where they storm the facility that holds the stuff, it turns into a full comedy movie in my mind, right at that point. And it is an argument that it was beforehand. I could see that it could have been beforehand, but I feel like it loses any version of like eeriness and tension that it
Comedy, I
had.
would say that it's satire, right?
Okay,
Like
that's fair.
all the way through, it's
Hmm.
satire.
Hmm.
Um, and the end. is comedic because it's ridiculous.
Yes.
It's just ridiculous.
Hmm.
And that was also a thing in movies at the time. It's like the end of the fireworks show, right? Like you really have to go all out in the
Yeah,
last
yeah.
30 minutes of the movie. It's like bring in the flames, like
You've got to land that final scene. And
have
oh boy, man, this movie lands that final scene.
it is hilarious though.
I mean, and both chocolate chip Charlie turning into the, I don't know what to call it, the stuffy all the way, and also them feeding the CEOs until they can't eat anymore. Both excellent scenes to end this film. I just think it lands so well as far as the story goes.
Them feeding the CEOs is
And then
awesome.
you even get the setup for the potential sequel after that with the black market stuff guys who are like,
Yeah. Oh yeah,
they're
man.
drug
Hitting
dealers
the
are like,
streets now.
yeah, let me try that. Oh, that's pure. Which I love because if this movie had done well, you probably would have been able to see that sequel.
Yeah.
Uh, which spoiler alert, it didn't, but we'll talk about that stuff too. So, the detective plot in this movie is a fun one to me because it takes such a different avenue than a lot of other detective plots would take in these movies because he isn't a detective. He's not a private investigator. He is a corporate spy who's just
Right.
trying to figure out what the stuff is made out of so they can
Uh
copy it.
Fired FBI, right? CIA,
Yeah.
FBI.
Huh. Hmm.
Fired FBI.
So
So
he
he has
has the
that chip
skills.
on his shoulder
Hmm.
about being fired from the FBI, though. Yet he uses a lot of the contacts that he had there. Like that's where he was trying to send Chocolate Chip Charlie and stuff to go get help. And
You go
yeah.
talk to the
So he
author
was
of Dune.
government before private sector.
Yes.
So he
And
seems to have a moral compass, I guess is what I'm saying.
okay, that's fair. And one thing you can say about Mo, which is who Michael Moriarty plays, David Mo.
And he says, what? Why do people
uh,
call him Mo?
oh, because whenever he gets some, he always wants Mo.
He always wants Mo. Somebody gives me money. I always want Mo.
It's man, it's hard to talk about this film in any other version than as a vehicle for Michael Moriarty to say the most ridiculous lines.
Him and what was the lady who played the ad exec? I did a lot of
And
reading up on her.
Andrea Markovici.
Those
That
two are fantastic. Just
yes.
fantastic. She is so well spoken. I
Hmm.
went and I figured out looking her up, she's cabaret singer. And that's what
Okay.
she's most famous for. Like she's a very famous cabaret singer and she put out all these very popular albums. So I went and listened to a couple. Fantastic. She did these World War II cabaret covers and they are amazing. Highly
Really?
recommend.
No
Yeah.
way. Okay.
She's
That's
super talented. Yeah.
That's very interesting. She's also in Baskets, which was the clown show with famous actor. I'm forgetting his name off the top of my head. Not Gaffigan, but Galifianakis. And
You just
actually,
threw a ball over my head. I have no idea what that is.
it's Louis Anderson, Zach Galifianakis, and it's a clown show that has like 3 full seasons, and she's in that. This is neither
Really?
here nor there, though. But this is one of
Louis
the more
Anderson's like one of my favorites too. I cannot believe I haven't seen that.
You'll Louis Anderson in this show, the Baskets that is phenomenal.
Okay.
Um,
I'll
his
watch it.
character is just very interesting, so it's worth checking out if you like Louis Anderson in particular.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
won't say the show's like perfect, but Louis Anderson is great in it.
Louis Anderson's fantastic. I've loved him forever.
But she's great, and even the kid, I won't say his acting was very good, but Jason was in on the bit the whole time. He had
You
the
know,
exact right amount of
I don't think
cheese.
he was supposed to be a fleshed out character though. I think that he was the voice of innocence, like the
Hmm.
voice of
Hmm.
obviousness. Like, the stuff doesn't have ingredients on the label. What is this? Why are people acting this way? Like the actual questioning. So I think he was more of a vehicle for sanity than
Yeah, yeah.
anything else, because they didn't really flesh him out much except he got bit by mosquitoes in his room and then his parents tried to force the stuff on him. His rage in the grocery, so he goes to the grocery store where the stuff is like in the freezer, in the fridge cases, in stacks, all up and down everything. And he goes ham in there
Hmm.
and just destroys it all because his family is becoming addicted to it and becoming weird. And he saw it move in the refrigerator one night. And
That's all it took for him
also, I
too.
wanted to say, boy, wasn't dad a little harsh finding the kid up at 4 a.m.? It's like, I'm going to kill you. I'm like, dude, back off. Like,
It's like the kid's hungry, bro. Like, give him some
yeah,
food.
yeah. I was like, but that's the severity of the 80s, right? And you could even see it like in the in the relationship between Moriarty and the ad exec. It was just really, I'm a man and I'm in control, and you're a woman
Yeah,
and you're in
yeah, yeah.
distress kind of
Yep.
thing. It's just
Yeah, you
endemic of
can
the time.
exactly. Yeah, you can tell she immediately
But that
splits off
kid
with the
was about to
kid.
get a whooping. Goodness
Oh man,
gracious.
that kid is so
I
lucky.
felt like I was in trouble.
I my the family scenes are so wonderful because they turn into advertisements and they're like they're one of the eeriest parts of the
So
films.
well done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they are advertisements and it's like the kid all of a sudden went from living in a family to living in a commercial and you
Yeah.
can just feel how like that
When
would
his
be
dad
actually creepy.
finally smiles at him, because he hadn't smiled at him the whole movie, but he turns and smiles at him with that
Perfect
denture
smile.
almost
Yeah.
smile, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and just with a spoon, and it's like how creepy. Like it's so good because it's like, no, it's just a family and they love you, but it's like so eerie. I loved it. I
And
thought that who was the mom in that family? Because she was super familiar to me.
yeah, let's see. Her name is Colette Blonigan, which I'm sure I just said that. I just destroyed that name. But she was only in 2 full-length films, Diner and The Stuff.
Really? I guess
Yeah.
I just remember her from that movie.
Yeah.
Maybe
I
she's
mean,
got that movie mom look.
she did look familiar. She's got a face and also she's on a
You know
diet.
why? Are you sure she isn't in Flight of the Navigator? She's not the mom in Flight of the Navigator.
Well, this is just according to IMDb. This
No,
isn't my own language
which
here,
is,
but yeah,
yeah,
Diner
but
and The
no.
Stuff are the only 2
I
things.
I
Yeah.
am would know. She looks just like the lady from Flight of the Navigator,
Um,
the mom.
speaking of which, that's interesting. Anyway, one of yeah, so okay, so he destroys all the stuff in the supermarket.
Mm.
Everyone is terrible at stopping this kid from destroying everything. Uh,
Yeah, zero effort put into stopping him.
the effort levels and almost all of the actions in this movie are hilarious. Like I do want to talk about Michael Moriarty just knocking everyone out with one punch, and half the punches look like he's barely touching anyone. When the cop is like bent over the stuff and he just like touches his back and the cop falls over, I love that. That's so
Don't
dumb.
mess with Michael Moriarty, man.
You can't, you can't. Um, but yeah, so then they go to the what was the first town they went to? Do you remember off the top of your head? I don't remember the name of this
The
town, but
old rundown town. Also,
yeah.
best set in the whole movie. All the mail was getting forwarded there, and then
Mhm.
when the mail got forwarded there, then they forwarded it to the mines. It was somewhere in, I want to say Georgia. I think it was in Georgia. Let me look at my notes real quick.
Because they
Um,
forwarded it to Medford, I think.
yeah, yeah.
But I can't remember the name of the town they went to.
Not off the top of my head,
Yeah,
but I think that was kind of on purpose. It was supposed to be a dead town,
yeah.
right? Like that was an actual abandoned town they shot in.
Oh,
And
wonderful.
you can tell during the movie, like the natural spider webs and decomposition of things, and like you couldn't get that on a set. And so they actually
No,
went to an
yeah.
actual abandoned town to film it. And I just think the one side of the stuff that they show you that is so bright and candy coated and rich and lustrous and oh boy, this is awesome, and then the reality of it is a hollowed out shell of just like sadness and nothing. It's built on nothing, and like
Mm-hmm.
I just
It,
really like how he used the
it
juxtaposition.
it's a wonderful point that I don't think is necessarily connected with strongly enough in a lot of ways. Is that this corporation made this product that's so wildly successful, and like you said, they're marketed as something so beautiful, something so wonderful. You all want it, and yet the one town that actually came from is completely
Dead.
destroyed. Yeah,
Yes,
like
dead.
everybody there is gone. This whole entire area is destroyed, except for the mail clerk or the gas station attendant. Um,
Who are also fantastic.
they are fantastic.
Yeah,
I love that little scene because that the clerk who's in there when he sneaks away, it is so goofy looking, and yet it is so well done. When he just looks
yeah,
back, he's like, they don't see me, right?
right. Yeah,
But then you get that first really actually amazing practical effects of his mouth wide open, and then
right.
the silly commentary that Mo gives, like mouths don't open that wide.
Right. It's almost like an unhinged jaw, right? But it's like
hmm
physically broken open by the stuff.
hmm
It's a disturbing image when it happens. But I think that it is extremely necessary.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You
I
know,
mean, you get to see the stuff climbing away and climbing out the window and then getting away and coming back later and re-inhabiting the body again.
right.
It's such a
Putting the
immediate
body back
version of
together. Yeah.
yeah, and it immediately gives you the breadth of this monster or not monster, but this ooze and what it can do. So like now you know, hey, if they die because they lose the stuff, they're not really dead. The stuff can leave bodies, come back. It just controls the shell, and
Right.
it shows you this really quick, which could be harrowing in a certain sort of harrowing
Maybe
mood.
that's
This
where The
isn't that
Last of
movie.
Us got it.
Yeah, they're like, it's wonderful. Um, and I'm trying to remember because this movie jumps around a little bit after here. They get on a boat.
Jumping around is a key part of this movie. Yeah.
100% because they
So yeah, so they get out and they find the guy, his mouth's open wide, and they jump out the window to run
mhm.
away for some reason, which I do not understand because there are two open doors. But they climb out the window and then they start running down the street because there's a four dudes chasing them. Where did dudes come from? Like just the cut, strong cut out the window, four dudes chasing us.
Yes, yes.
And they
Which with
run, yeah, and
Chocolate
then the
Chip
boat.
Charlie just saying like, "Hey, whoa, I don't know. I know when to fight, but I also know when to run." And you're like, "Okay."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then you get to see Moriarty just punch a dude's head in. Um,
Caving in. Yeah, there's
yes.
nothing inside of the skulls of these
No.
people. So there's no brain, there's no like sinus cavity or nothing. When you punch them open, it's like a pinata.
Yeah.
So
So then,
Moriarty starts knocking open pinatas. Yeah.
and it's wonderful. They get on a boat, they leave, and then I
Luckily, there's a boat there for them to run to and get onto. And luckily, the Stuffy who was trying to chase them pushes the boat into the water for them, which I
so
thought was
kind.
very nice of that Stuffy. Yeah, instead of getting in the boat and attacking them, he pushes it off.
It's like, see
One
ya,
of
good
my, I
luck.
love things like that in movies, like, practical effects done like that. Like, act like you're trying to hold on to the boat, but really push it out because they're like scooting their asses trying to get the boat to move off the shore.
And it would never do anything, but you see this guy's like, "Oh no, oops, I fell
Yeah,
over." Um,
but they get away in a rowboat from
yes.
four grown men. Yeah,
And then I can't remember where they land after this, but this is then he tells
the
Chocolate Chip
diner,
Charlie
straight to the diner.
straight to the diner, right? Okay.
From the boat to the diner. That's a hard cut again.
And the
Who
diners,
knows what happened?
because this is in Georgia now, or Medford, right? They go to Medford, Georgia for the diner, and they find out, wow, this place is weird.
Right,
There's something up here, and he
right.
immediately tells Chocolate Chip Charlie, says, "Hey, go back to Virginia, go talk to the FBI."
And
Um,
Charlie came in all lippy, asking for dessert. He's like, "You got any really good chocolate chip cookies?" And it's obviously a stuffed town, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
like
yeah,
gave himself away right off the bat.
yeah. He's like, "Oh shoot, he
That was
messed
the
us
end
up."
of chocolate chip.
Yeah, you can't ask for a chocolate chip cookie in the stuff town.
No,
Uh,
that is when Moriarty gives him the name. Hey, this is my homie at the FBI. Go hit him up and get him to come down here and bring the big guns. And I think that was supposed to be like a part of the movie, like the suspense that like, the help was on the way and then it wasn't, but like they didn't play it at all. It's just
no,
one
no,
sentence that
no.
happens and then
Yeah.
never talk about it.
Because I agree with you. I feel like that's supposed to be part of it. That the
I
FBI
mean, they
will
just,
show up,
yeah,
but
right.
then it's completely forgotten about until
But what
Chocolate Chip Charlie
happens,
shows up
right?
again.
Right. So what happens there is Chocolate Chip Charlie gives himself away and they force feed him the stuff and he becomes part of the stuff.
Hmm
Yeah.
hmm And I'm see this is where the jumping gets me confused because we go to them the diner, and I think then after that we go
They
to
go save
him.
the kid.
Yeah, they go save the kid. Okay, and
He
then they get on the
shows up.
airplane.
Hold on, let's think. Okay,
Yes.
because it's the newspaper. Yes, he takes an ad exec lady back to his lab.
hmm
And as soon as he walks through the door, the guy's like, "Have you seen this?" and hands him a newspaper. And it's about the kid destroying all the
Right,
stuff.
right, right,
And so
right.
he
Yes.
ditches lady there and he just bails to go pick up the kid.
He's just the chillest kidnapping of all time, where he just like rolls up in his car. He's like, "Yeah, I seen it move too," and
Yeah,
then
get
now he has
in.
a kid. The
His
kid's his now.
parents are chasing, right? His parents and brother are chasing him down the street. He abducts a child and drives.
Gets into a
Michael
plane,
Moriarty can do whatever he wants. Yeah, into a
anything.
private jet. Yeah.
Takes him to a whole different area. I assume a different state altogether.
Interstate trafficking.
And then he leaves him on the plane. He's like, "Just keep him here. Don't. I don't
Let
want
him
him with me."
sleep. We got to go check everything out. Yeah,
Eh,
that's
Yeah.
right. We're
eh,
pacing correctly. All of
Yes.
these things, it feels like we're missing big chunks. We're not.
No,
This
yeah.
is this is the pacing of the movie.
It's part of the fun of it is you got to keep kind of like figuring out, okay, we're somewhere in the story that exists and it does make some sense, but we've missed how they got here.
I will say a lot of the story you can tell yourself,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And so I think I do enjoy movies like that that leave a lot open, but this movie just left a lot open.
I hear that Larry Cohen had a version of this movie that was almost 3.5 hours long. Uh and then
The
they
Larry
told him to
Cohen
cut that.
cut? Where's the
Yeah,
Larry Cohen cut?
that's what I'm saying. They told him that they couldn't release that version of the film, and I could bet I understand why, but
There's probably
this
a
is
lot. That's where all these missing scenes went.
yeah, he's like, "Okay, I gotta figure out how to get rid of all of this stuff and just go next." And you can feel that a little bit going on. But that's okay because, honestly, like you said, you can figure out what's going on, and the little bits likely don't matter that much.
Right.
Um,
I think we've
because
gotten used to that as film consumers now,
mhm,
though, as an
mhm,
overtelling of a story, so it's very clarified, so you don't have to do a lot of extra thinking,
yes,
But I
yeah.
I don't mind it when things are I don't ask questions when I'm watching a movie.
And shockingly, I feel like he does like a lot of these lines that explain to you what is happening in the movie in case you were confused. And one of those is when they get
Or in
to
case you
the
were making out at the drive-in, so he like just
yeah,
clues you in on everything that just happened.
yeah, because like one of those, I'm gonna give an example of that is that when the trucks are leaving at night to go to
Hmm.
the quarry, you might be confused. Why are the trucks leaving at night? Because they didn't explain this to us at all, and we don't even really know where these trucks are except for they have the cool logo on the side.
Right.
Uh, but then he stops. He goes, "Oh, they're going at night, so that way no one sees what they are." And I'm like, "Thanks, Mo. Appreciate you
Yep.
because now I'm caught up."
Right.
And he does
uh,
that a bunch of different times, and I really appreciate it because it really helps with the jumping that's going on.
right.
And it's not that you need it, but it is nice to be like certified that yeah, you're right in your assumption on this one.
Something so pacing through the story here, something I really liked about this airplane scene,
Mm-hmm.
right? They leave little kid Jason on the airplane, and
Mm-hmm.
he says to the pilot, I suppose, hey, if we're not back in 3 hours, fly him back to wherever. New Jersey, I believe it was, right? Just get him out of here.
Yeah, yeah,
And he leaves, just leaves this kid he's abducted with a pilot. And they leave, they go off. The stuff attacks the plane while they're gone,
yeah.
absolutely demolishes the pilot. And so this kid is almost dying in the back, has to escape out of a chute and takes off running across the field to save his own life. And then it hard cuts back to Moriarty and the ad exec, and they're just hanging out. And he's like, well, yeah, he should be back in Jersey by now. Like, did nonchalantly did not give a about the kid.
Didn't even look into it. Wasn't worried about it at all. And the
No
next
phone
time,
calls made, no checking in, just
the
whatever.
next time he hears anything from that kid's in the back of a tanker trapped
Yeah, he's
inside
trapped
of.
in the. Yeah,
And Mo
that's.
doesn't even like bat an eye. He's just like, okay, Jason, we're gonna get you out of there. Okay.
Yeah. That's one of the best scenes in the movie, though, is the idea of innocence being trapped in something and not being able to take control of the situation and just having to go with what's happening. And
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I thought that was Larry Cohen tries to get deep sometimes in the goofiest of places, and I do appreciate it, because he was a real political kind of guy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you can feel it, and it is nice because it adds depth to a film that otherwise you wouldn't expect it to be there. Like this could be just played as a straightforward whatever movie, like monster slash B movie. Like I feel like Q kind of is more so just a monster movie, whereas this one has
That
more in
was
it.
like when you look back at Larry Cohen, though, Q was kind of a forced movie on him. He liked doing his exploitation movies. He thought that was his straw, and I agree, he was great.
Mm-hmm.
But horror was so popular, and that was kind of the budget studios that he worked with at the time,
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
they kind of pushed that on him. So he was trying to use horror movies as a vehicle to explain a deeper subject. That's probably why it was 3.5 hours, right?
Yeah,
He was probably tore apart when they said you got an hour 40, right?
yeah.
Like tear this down. So there's
Hmm.
probably a lot of exposition in there we never got to see.
Oh, I'm so
Um,
sure of it.
but
This movie jumps around so much to like different part because after all of this happens at the quarry and at the factory, they go over to Colonel Spears. And this is just a whole different segue of the film. It just suddenly takes this hard
a
turn where it's just
guy
a
just
different movie.
exists all of a sudden. You haven't heard of the whole movie, and
Hmm.
all of a sudden he's a main character out of nowhere.
And of course, Mo gets in really good with him because he
Oh,
knows that his wife was cheating on him or something of that sort.
he has blackmail, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
and
why wouldn't
he's like, yeah, well, you could have killed me down there if you wanted to,
he?
like, and then they're like, okay, we're friends now, let's go.
Also, let it be known that's what's his name, Paul Sereno, Paul Saravino.
Paul Savino, yeah.
He was in that mobster TV show on HBO.
Are you talking about Sopranos?
Yeah, 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 yeah. He's been in a lot of awesome stuff.
He has been in so many different mob movies. You if you see his face, you
Oh,
immediately
was it
know you've seen this guy.
Goodfellas he was in?
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't remember in Sopranos, but I have definitely seen him.
It's got to be Goodfellas.
There's like 100 different credits here on his IMDb, so I'm not gonna go through that. But he's in so many different things.
So he was more of a stage actor. Larry Cohen used to write his scripts in this deli in Manhattan,
Okay,
and it was by all the acting houses. So actors would be in and out all day. That's where he met Moriarty. That's where he met Paul. That's where he met the cabaret singer. It was kind of like a social club for artists at the
sick,
time at this deli. So he would sit in there and write during the days and talk to all these actors and get them on board. That's why he got a lot of these kind of heavy hitter actors, even at the
wonderful.
time, on board for such a corny project. You
He's able to explain kind of with them a deeper meaning, probably get someone into it, and also be like, hey, plus we get
yeah.
to blow up your head with some really cool special effects later. So hard to say no to that. Uh, um, yeah. So then Colonel Spears shows up and he blackmails his way up to the top, and then just talks him into staying it by saying, "Hey, well, you know how you hate that there's fluoride in the water." Which, there's tracks. He's like, "Well, no one knows what's in the stuff. Yeah, I think it's poisoning the people." And he's like, "All right,
And
I'm in."
that's enough. Yep.
Which you gotta love the
I have
principles.
two radio towers because of course I do. Let's go
Yes.
broadcast.
I One thing that
The
shocks me at Colonel
plot
Spears.
vehicles in this movie are just wrecking balls. You know,
Yeah,
there's no calmness to it at all. It's just like plot point. Here you go.
right, because this guy who has
It
these radio
exists
towers
now.
in Georgia is living in some random castle on the side of a highway, and he's got his special forces all lined up along the road to make sure
Dudes
no
in
one can actually get
camo
in.
with fully automatic weapons. Yeah.
It's wonderful, just he can pop out a whole entire army at his will, or at least an elite force. I
How
won't
many
say army.
cabs were there, you think? Because they go to raid the get into town to broadcast, right? There had to be 10 cabs, those old New
Hmm.
York style cabs. And they had what, four dudes in each? So maybe 40 guys?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a pretty sick little unit.
They're all
And
driving down the road with Uzis and stuff hanging out the windows of the cab. And when they roll up, everybody in town just screams and scatters. They have automatic weapons. That like,
I love it because he still just tips them. I love that it makes a point of him tipping them as well.
yeah, yeah.
It's
He's a,
awesome. He
it's
has principles. He might
yeah.
seem like he's a little bit of he's a little out there, but he does have his
Okay,
principles. He
so
wants to
call
save
me
America.
crazy, and I wrote this down, but for me, I felt like Larry Cohen was trying to make him a version of Marlon Brando from Apocalypse Now
Oh,
and kind of
interesting.
give him
Okay.
that vibe, a very driven, smart, powerful individual with very clear thoughts like on matters, like tipping
Hmm.
somebody
Hmm.
is doesn't matter what, doesn't matter if the world's ending, tipping somebody is important,
You have to
right?
do
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
right.
Hmm.
And so
The
just that kind of methodical thinking he seems to have. And I think they
Okay.
kind of
Yeah.
watered it down a bit with the redneck militia angle. Um, but to me, yeah, it had that feeling of he was maybe written as a more powerful character than he was shown
Portray.
as,
Yeah.
you know?
Uh, he has some of my favorite lines in the film as well. I just say, like, when he shows up to the taxis off of the tarmac, and the guy goes, "Hey, what is this, World War III?" And he goes, "Just get us to Fourth and Main right away. No more of your liberal remarks."
Are your liberal remarks? Yeah.
It was such a funny line and delivered so well. And yeah, it happens right before
Just
this. And
so uncalled for as well, right? Just like
because yeah, you've got a
he just
force.
said something.
Yeah, it's just so wonderful. But yeah, I think you're likely right about that. That they were trying to prove the point here. I just looking at it from this point, not having at this
But
point
don't
in
get me
time they were
wrong,
talking about.
he's
Yeah.
not an anti-hero or a hero. He is another. I believe that Cohen was trying to show him as a reflection of the stuff, almost just another
Hmm.
terrible thing that's going to take over your life. I don't
Right.
think he was supposed to be portrayed as an anti-hero or a hero.
Yeah, well, I think Cohen does a wise job at making that point by showing him be openly racist towards Chocolate Chip Charlie too.
Yeah. Also, and I hate that I was at that age and the time, it was a trope in movies that open racism was played on
Hmm.
all the
Hmm.
time. And whether it was really a comedy point in the 80s, as disgusting as that sounds coming out of my mouth, they used it as a punchline
Yeah.
a lot in the 80s. And yeah, I mean, you wouldn't think so now, but that was just so the norm back then. Like I grew up knowing that's disgusting, but like, yeah.
Hmm.
But I think that that does help frame a lot of the old style way of thinking and kind of I'm not saying, see, it's tough to talk about stuff that's not politics with this movie, but
Hmm.
he obviously doesn't care for people that aren't his people.
Yes, right,
I'll
exactly.
say
He
that.
he wants to save his people, but anyone else he doesn't really care about. He always openly is disdainful towards some of them. Uh,
But also clear that he's working in his own agenda and,
well,
to
and if
to
I
do
had
anything
to,
for anyone, he was going to get, I could just throw you off the building. You remember, like, he's not against just killing you.
yeah, oh no, not at all. I have this feeling that Larry Cohen did a couple things on purpose. That liberal remark he made earlier, right, was to a black cabbie.
It's so good, though.
And what he
It
said
played
wasn't
so
liberal at
well.
all. Yeah, you know what I
Not at
mean?
all.
I think he's showing like what we call a dog whistle nowadays,
Brother,
but
let me
back
tell
then,
you something. If that guy was talking to me, I would expect him to say the same thing, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
shut up, you liberal hippie. Like,
He just
ooh.
shows you. You're like, all right, I'll take you to Fourth and Main. Um,
What are you gonna
it's
do? They all have automatic weapons. You just nod and say, "Yep."
yeah, let's go. We're gone. Um, yeah. So then they get to the radio station, and the radio station plays out as they're gonna just give an APB. They're not
And the
gonna
radio
APB, but
station is the final frame, right? It
yes,
is the big set.
yes, and it is. They're playing a stuff ad, of course, just to show a little bit of hypocrisy going on.
Let me hear it. Let me hear the
Um,
jingle.
I think it was enough is never enough. The stuff.
The stuff.
It's so good. It's wonderful. Um, but yeah, they're playing it on the radio, and you get to hear him yelling, "Get that shit off my station! Get that shit off!" It's him blowing up for the final time, what he gets to.
Right.
And I love the idea because this happens in a lot of different movies. Is that you can broadcast a piece of news on the radio, and it immediately changes everyone's behavior.
Yeah.
Everyone is like, "Okay, we're in. You're right. The stuff, it's evil. Let's destroy everything we have on the shelves. Let's get rid of
Once
all of
again,
this."
at the time, the radio was it, right? You had local TV stations, which I think if there was a public emergency, that would be the more appropriate place to broadcast it. But like everybody listened to the radio. Like
Mhm.
that's what you did. There was no CDs, there was no internet. Like you listened to the radio for your news and everything. So that
And
tracked for me a bit. The awareness of it spreading in that climate, in that time, when actively probably marketed against by the stuff's legal team or whatever, um, is because it's instantaneous,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like they say it over the radio, and then all of a sudden people are burning it in the streets.
Yes.
And yeah, but that's Cohen for you there.
I it is not just him, to be fair. Like almost everything that has this radio station savior at the end, it happens the same way. They're like, "Oh, we broadcast it," and everyone was like, "Good job, guys. We agree
Yeah,
with you. You saved
because you
everybody."
broadcast it on one station, that minute played in every home at
Mhm.
exactly that
Mhm.
moment, right? Because that's how radio works.
Exactly, exactly. I love that. And then of course you get Chocolate Chip Charlie showing back up.
To
At
save the
the
day, he's there to help.
Yeah,
He's a good
I
guy.
mean, he would be saying the exact same things as everyone else, but he was more marketable. He was worth $20,000 a minute, is what I think that we're given a number, and that's his marketing value. Uh, and then he manages to get Nicole in a room alone, and we get the most spectacle of the film, the chocolate chip Charlie's head expanding, the
So
stuff
he's been
coming
a
out.
cool cat the entire film, good guy,
Hmm.
and then all of a sudden it turns, he grabs a wrist, remember? And you had
Hmm.
never seen him be physical with anybody really,
Right.
even though he said his hands are registered weapons.
Yeah.
But he grabs her wrist and starts getting real physical with her, and it's before
Hmm.
he's transformed, and that's kind of a it's a pretty stressful point. I think that they both played that really well, like her objector to being like attacked by a man that she trusted so much. I don't know why, because they had never met, but um
That's a good point.
but yeah, it's like a real turning point where all of a sudden it's like a switch, and
And he plays it really well too,
It's
because
it's like in the Matrix when everybody figures out that he's not, and they all turn and look at him, and it's that feeling of just like everything's turning on her all of a sudden, and they're
hmm
locked in this small
hmm
room. How did the kid get in there?
so the I did the kid just go with them to start out, or was he in that room already? I can't. I think he might have been in that room already, because the kid and Nicole were both in that room earlier.
Okay, he went in with her because that was
Yeah.
something I wrote down too, and like the cut is terrible there. Like
Yes.
it's like
Yes.
why is Jason in here?
And there are, so the effects of chocolate chip Charlie's head blowing up, or expanding, or whatever you want to call it, and the stuff coming out are just phenomenal. Now, do they look real? No, but that's not the point here. The point is the style is so amazing. It's
Let
so
me
fun to
say
watch.
that it is one of the finest pieces of practical effects ever in a B horror movie.
Hmm. Hmm.
It is it is
If you
everything you want it to
Yeah, and if you've
be.
seen it, you haven't forgot it. There's no chance you've forgotten.
Specifically his moment
Hmm.
with it,
Hmm.
right? Like that's like the head exploding in scanners,
And
right? It is
I
so
feel like they blew all of their special effects budget right here, because then immediately after this, with the fire and
that's
everything that happened,
overimposed on the film. So the
and it
fire's
just
not even there. It's just a fire still that they overimposed, and it's
and the when he breaks the window and he keeps swinging even after it's broken, I'm like,
yeah.
wow, they did it. It was worth it. I'm gonna tell them it was worth it to blow
They
their
had
wad on
that
that,
one
but
piece of glass, right?
I loved watching that scene again with like a clear mind, because last time I said I watched this movie, I was really drunk, right? You don't notice these things, but when I was really like watching and taking notes, I'm like, Michael Moriarty's hitting an open glass pane. He's standing on the desk and he's just like spraying it at nothing, and it doesn't matter in the context of the film, because that scene, you got what you needed out of it. You got Chocolate
Oh,
Chip
sure.
Charlie's head blowing up, and now they saved him with the fire.
That look before the stuff starts coming out of his mouth and the way
Uh,
the mouth and the teeth and the throat looks is so ingrained in my memory. It's
mm-hmm,
something that
mm-hmm.
just like that's the scene for me. Whoever did that detail work and the painting inside of that latex did an amazing job.
Yeah, because the inside of his mouth, the texture on the inside of his mouth is so it's interesting. Because I when I
It's
was
like
watching last
rotting
night,
but living, you know?
yeah, I almost said it, I almost thought, I was like, it looks like there's chocolate chips in his mouth, but like
Yeah.
it worked so well because it made it that much more disgusting, because it didn't look like exactly a real mouth, but it had enough of
It was
that
just
real
an
look
empty
to it.
head, right?
Yeah,
At that
yeah,
point. So it was just like the idea, but it's just the art, the amount of time somebody took
yes,
with
yes,
that
yeah, yeah.
one part was just it's not lost on me whoever did that out in the world. I loved it.
No, okay, so I have a time frame for this. Not for this particular piece, but like a relative time frame, right? So if you've seen the first Terminator, when Arnold Schwarzenegger's like cutting open his face and stuff,
Mhm.
that face that they did, it took them 6 months just to make that face. So if you can imagine how long it took to make this expandable slash, it wasn't a hard plastic piece, or it wasn't like a styrofoam piece, because it had
Yeah.
to move.
My buddy Alex did practical effects. He went to Tom Savini school
Oh,
and
sick!
then
That's
did some
awesome.
movie work with Tom Savini. And he would always send me pictures of what they were working on and how they were building it. And it is that intense, right? Like a single shot project, and like a lot of the stuff they did in this movie was also like very Harryhausen miniatures and slow frame and things like that. And getting those kind of shots, like you act like The tubes exploding, the stuff all over the road at the end, and the buildings blowing up is nothing. But
Hmm.
remember when George Lucas did it, it was a big deal,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like it's
yeah.
the same idea, it's the same kind of models. It's just because it's not a space station, it's less. No, it's actually probably harder because you're going for realism. You can't just put a Christmas light on something and call it good.
Right, miniature's not always gonna do the job here. You gotta make sure it actually has movement and impact. I
Especially when you're going for a real world location that people know that what
Yeah,
silos look
yeah.
like. Like it's not, you can't just make it up and be like, oh no, that's what it looks like. And those miniatures were so well done. I mean,
Mhm.
very model trainy, of course, but the
I
explosions, and it was so well done. And I
and we
know how hard that stop frame like miniature stuff is to do. So like the budget for that back then was probably crazy on this movie.
Yeah, straight seriously, that's they blew a lot of it right there, and it was worth it. Again, I'm not even saying that this is a bad place to blow your money. Blow your money here because whoever you had as your
You
artist
already had
was
the
just doing
actors,
wonderful.
right?
Yeah.
You had
Mhm,
great actors.
mhm.
So yeah,
Eh
practical effects, no matter what they are always going to tickle me. I like them. I like them when they're
Mhm.
bad, particularly. Like I like when somebody has put a ton of effort into something that is terrible. I think that it's great, and this movie
No,
has that written all over it.
no, I've always considered this. I was like, an artist that tries and attempts to make these nightmares into reality, no matter what they are, is something that should be, like, focused on as a piece of art rather than just a vehicle of the movie, even
That's
if it
all. That's all I ever see him
accomplishes
as,
both of
right?
them
Yeah,
as yeah. I love it, and this is why you'll always hear me speak very positively of films like this as opposed to CGI. Now, that's not being fair to CGI artists, and I recognize that, and I will own that on its face, but I
it's
just
just a
love something
different
that's
kind of art,
physical. Yeah.
you know.
Mhm.
Um, it's like digital drawing versus painting. I don't know. I,
Yeah.
I collect a lot of Magic the Gathering cards.
Fair.
And
Yeah.
back in the day, everything was done in watercolor or
Mhm.
oil paints, and then they would put that on a card, and now everything's digital art. They're both awesome, but they're both
Yeah.
very, very different. The art
Mhm.
styles are very, very different. And it's the same with movies and CGI. Some CGI is done extremely well. I also like CGI when it's done terribly, like early mid 90s CGI, and it's like cutouts and like jagged around the edges things, and I love that too.
I mean, I love a
But
lot of that ends up
CGI
being
has
like
come so far at this point that it's a little, happy valley in some of it, like you can
yeah,
tell, but it's just so realistic. You can make
uh,
anything you want.
that's true. Um, yeah, so I we didn't even touch on the, hotel scene because the
Well,
hotel scene
everybody
is worth
says
talking
that's
about.
that's the biggest scene in the movie.
I
Yeah,
disagree heartily because Chocolate Chip Charlie has to be the biggest scene in the film. I just
I
don't see how
agree
he's
with you.
not. But the hotel scene is
There's
very
a budget. There's a
entertaining.
budget spend there too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because the walls turning because there's no other way he did this to make the
So
stuff
Wes
flow against
Craven
gravity.
developed that, right? So the scene where the blood's running up the walls for the Wes Craven movie, I forget what nightmare it was.
Uh, was this not the one where she was getting dragged on the ceiling?
Yeah, and all the
Yeah, okay.
blood started
I think
running
that
up
was the
the
first one.
walls.
Yeah, I think that was the
Yeah, yeah,
Rental
yeah,
Shoe
yeah,
one.
yeah. So they got the idea from that, and that whole room's on a gimbal. The whole room turns.
I mean, that's so cool. That's so cool. I love that scene just for the fact that you can also see how obvious it is the stunt actors are out, the
Oh
stunt
yeah,
doubles.
and how obvious the room is upside down.
Yeah. It's cool, the guy getting dragged up the wall and then everything getting lit on fire. It's a very cool scene. I really enjoyed it. I the best part of that to me though is when the stuff starts coming out of the pillow because that actually would be amazingly terrifying. Like he
Sure.
actually got a really likely horrible situation where all of a sudden the pillow rips open and the stuff is coming out from underneath him.
I think what Cohen was trying to say there was, and saying consumerism or politics or identity or however you want to look at what point he was trying to make is that you're not even safe in your own bedroom. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
things will get to you, especially nowadays with cell phones and stuff. You're not even safe in bed from thought crimes or anything,
Hmm.
getting into you. And I think that that was the expression that he was trying to make, that nobody's, you're never safe from market. You're never safe from the stuff.
No, yeah, yeah, 100%. That makes a lot of sense. Um, so the
Because
guy
that was
who
a really big time at when a lot of people were starting to put TVs into their bedrooms and watching late night shows in beds and things like that. And there was a lot of 60-minute art shows and stuff about how that was bad for you. And then I I think his angle of consumption was kind of driven by that idea that people were always consuming
Mhm,
something
yeah,
even when they were at rest.
stationary, not doing anything, but they're still getting something beamed into their brains from
Yeah.
some odd angle. I mean, look at everything around you right now. You can find a logo on anything if you look hard enough.
Mhm.
That's the same thing. Um, okay, this is a complete side note segue, not even about the movies. Mercedes was trying, I think it was like 5 to 10 years ago at this point, to find a way to ingrain an after image on your irises, so when you closed your eyes, you would see the Mercedes logo.
That's cool. That's
Yeah,
nice of them.
I think they were denied the patent for that.
That sounds like absolute hell.
Yeah, yeah. They were
Let's just start lasering stuff on the moon while we're at it. Just-
well, if you look up in the sky and you check out the sun, then when you close your eyes, it says Nike. you know, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
I did that and I went blind. Don't do it. Our
The
lawyers told me to tell you, don't go look at the sun.
yeah, right. Um, yeah. So I think we covered most of the story because then after that, then Mo goes to talk to the CEO of the mining oil
Yeah, the
company, and
demon comes out of Chocolate Chip Charlie. Moriarty saves the day, swings in on
mhm.
the rope, and pulls everybody out of the fire. Yeah, yeah. As he
As Nicole is giving her speech about how sorry she is for being part of this, Mo is in the
genuinely
room.
sorry, I believe. I think a lot of the times I read a lot about movies, and a lot of times she gets portrayed in a negative light, and I think that she has an honest redemption arc. I think
Mhm,
that doing your job until the point when you find out something is dangerous, and then going against that as a
mhm.
norm is good. I think
I
people
yeah,
should do that,
yeah,
right? So
I
I think
agree.
saying that she's an ad exec so she's evil is like way off base. Like, she was complicit up to the point until she knew what was happening,
Yeah, I
right? And I
think
think that it's important that when you learn facts, you can change and say I was
mhm.
wrong and genuinely apologize.
Otherwise you're backed into this corner where you're essentially forced to double down on whatever the evil was. But
That
I
happens every
yeah,
day.
every single day. And I would agree with this is that like, you don't really understand how I don't want to say naive people are because that's probably an unfair thing of me to say, but people just don't understand what they're doing and how it's larger effects all the time. And especially if you're in a busy life where you're just jumping from event to event to event to event, and then you find out, oops, I actually did something really evil, and then I will go and attempt to save it. And I mean, look, she literally went everywhere with this guy to
The
try to stop it.
ability to, yeah, yeah, you can't do anything else. You did
Yeah,
everything you could,
yeah.
right?
She jumped through laundry bins with a child to try to
Yeah.
get
But
away
I,
from
I
it.
really appreciated her apology and then made
Mhm.
it kind of a non-apology at the end because she's like, this isn't really something I can apologize for, but like I am sorry. you
It,
know?
she's like, this is terrible. Trust me, I get it.
Yeah.
Don't forgive me. But I love that it goes and he's in the room with the CEO, and then of course the ice cream company CEO's there, and he was in on it the whole time for whatever reason. Uh,
Yes. And
just
the Jason's there. He still has his abducted child. I assume he has taken over parental duties at that point. Is he dad?
yeah, I don't know, but I love Jason's change. He's like,
Well, they go and
yeah,
murder. They go and murder people together. Isn't that a father-son activity?
and he's like, yeah, I've seen some things.
Oh,
My
he's he's
brother and my
he's
family were taken from me.
radicalized. He's radicalized at
Yeah,
that
yeah.
point. Like,
Um, yeah, and then we get to see him force feeding the stuff to these CEOs to get them. It kills the CEO, I
they didn't
assume.
force me to do them.
Oh,
They gave
you're
him an
right.
they
You're
gave
right.
him an option.
You're right. It's a bad option, but you're right.
It ends the same way either way, but they're cowards and they took the long way.
Right.
But yeah,
So
it was retribution. The fact is, and what happens there at the end is that you think the stuff is done for, and then you walk in and it's a whole muhaha moment as the ice cream CEO comes out, and now he's partnered with the stuff CEO,
and
and
they're gonna make it
they've
really.
created a new stuff that's only 12% stuff, so it'll get you addicted, but it won't turn you into a zombie or a stuffy, as they call them.
And
And
I still love that he asked him, "Okay, well, if it's not that bad, why don't you eat it?"
why don't you eat it? And it reminds me so much of the fracking video where that guy pours the dirty water into the glasses for the congressman, and he's like, "You said you would drink it." And he's like,
It
"Not." He's like, "Not up." Like,
Dude,
no.
it's a great litmus test. I mean, you know what? If we did that in a lot of different ways, it'd probably be pretty outstanding. It'd be
If
very
it's good
informative.
enough for me, it's good enough for you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Um,
And so they don't make them eat it. They have a whole case of the stuff, and Moriarty pulls a gun on them, and they gives them a choice: I'm going to shoot you. You're going to eat it.
and then they
And
go for
so,
potential self-preservation.
well, they know what's going to happen. I think it was a bad choice on their parts, but maybe they saw redemption in it at some point for themselves. But they eat it until they're completely brain dead. Then you hear the cops roll up, right? Is that the FBI finally showing up, or you think they called somebody, or
I just assumed they called the cops, but maybe it was the FBI.
and
But
then
yeah.
Moriarty and Jason roll out, and
Hmm.
they're father and son. And I assume Ad Exec is mom now, and they're a happy family
The
built on.
hard Jason, the one that's gonna, he's gonna save the world. The idea at the end of the stuff reappearing with the 12%, it was such a nice little send off because that's exactly what really would happen if something evil was found, is they'd just find a way to hide it.
Sure,
Like, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
then
okay, we
how
won't do
how
that
high can
anymore.
we dial this up and still
Uh-huh.
not get in trouble
Hmm.
for
Hmm.
real, right? It has nothing to do with the safety of people or the care for anything. It just has to do with extending profits, right? And
Exactly. Hmm.
that's the whole movie, right?
Yep,
That
yep.
when people are trying to separate from your money, you from your money, always assume the worst.
Yep.
You
And it's
know,
this is shocking, but it's funny how these movies about
read the labels
consumerism.
on the things you eat.
Right. It is amazing how many things the FDA has okayed in this country versus everywhere else in the world. And I won't, go into
Sure.
it, but like
The
this is a
food
very good point.
colorings, there's really weird stuff. And then let's not even talk about nutraceuticals, right? Like anything, just
It's
anything. And people are like, oh no, it's so good for you. No, it's really not. Caladial silver drinking, it turns out not great. Not good for you. Turns you blue. You look like a smurf.
like, but it's okay in 1.3% per drink if you only drink this much per day. But that's on you, the consumer, to figure out, not us as the company to monitor. Um,
you,
Trust me, as someone who's done a lot of environmental work and recognizing that companies used to be in charge of recycling their own materials until they figure out a way to make the consumer do that. It's
yeah.
very entertaining how none of these films seem to go out of style. You
No,
know?
no.
um,
I think my issue with it in general is that we've been being told what's happening right now. We've been warned
mhm,
about it
mhm.
for 40 years.
Yeah,
Like, this
forever.
is happening
Hmm.
actively. Like,
Hmm.
and I didn't miss it. You know what happened?
Yeah, yeah. It's just it turns out the issue here is that not a lot of people watch these B horror movies. And then the old environmental movies, they had too many songs about frogs and stuff.
I
They were
think
quote
I
unquote
think
cringy.
people, and like this is just a belief of mine. Go out, if you like something new, put it on physical media. If you can buy something on physical media, get it on physical media. Consume physical media and own your media. Of course, they're not going to show you the stuff, and they're not going to push you the stuff because it's very anti what they want you to do, right? Like the
Hmm.
fact that
Hmm.
films like that got made in the first place, you had back then, you had studios that would take a chance on you. And studios would put money into like Larry Cohen, who had very leftist views, very liberal views, and give them the money to make a movie. That doesn't happen anymore. You do get steady cam movies or phone shop movies that people can self-produce and put online, and that gives people a voice. But how many movies do you see that speak to people in the way that the stuff speaks to people, hitting you over the head with it?
Hmm.
I guess Don't Look Up is a good one in that regard, like just hitting you over the head with the point. Like,
And that was probably funded by a lot of the folks who were in the film, with notoriously famous views for um
it
environmental.
all works for me till I see you show up at Amazon Voice birthday party. And then I start thinking maybe
Yeah.
you aren't who you say you are. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah,
I'm not
the
being classist. I'm not.
no,
Just
the
pay your
hypocrisy.
taxes.
The hypocrisy just hurts, and I think everyone can agree with hypocrisy hurting at some point. I'm sure they have to. Okay, so let's we're gonna quick hit on this because I think that we've talked about this pretty in depth. So, acting and characters. I think that the acting and characters wasn't exactly phenomenal during this film, but this isn't the sort of movie where you look for phenomenal acting. So
No,
it feels a little bit harsh to rate it on as such. I think Moriarty is a phenomenal player in this.
yeah,
I don't know that I believe his character is ever being a person that existed, but I don't think I need to.
no, that's not the point. I think every person, and I'm looking for my specific notes on it, but every person in the movie was more of a set piece,
Mhm.
an idea, more than a fleshed out character. And maybe in this longer one that you're telling me about, they had more of a fleshed out synopsis on each character. But I think a lot of that was removed. It was unnecessary, I think, in a
Mhm.
way. But I think that the actors just got used as plot pieces on a board instead of really being used for their acting ability. I know that they let Charlie go off on his own and do a lot of tangents, and I know that Moriarty was allowed to improvise. But when you have genius on set, you just let it do that,
Yeah,
right? You
yeah,
let it
yeah.
exist like a Robin Will. You just let him
Right, right.
go. But everybody in the movie was a vehicle for a thought, right? And instead of being a well thought out person with likes and desires and a gray moral compass and being actually human, they were very defined in who they were. I think the only person in the movie, Chocolate Chip Charlie, not against his will, changed, but the ad exec's really the only person that had a big shift of conscience during the movie. Other than
Yeah.
that, she was
Mhm.
she was the needle. And yeah, the kid, fine actor. Him and his brother have crazy eyes, by the way. My goodness.
I
Um,
love it they chose the real brother too. Because the real
and
brother
he
is an
and he
actor in
did
some other
those
film too.
he did those tight face close ups just because of their eyes, right? He's like, these kids'
Striking.
eyes.
Yeah.
They're crazy. Like ice blue. Um, but his introduction was, I'm getting bit by mosquitoes, so I closed my window and I went downstairs and saw the stuff crawling. And that's it. That's him. That's who that boy is. That's what he does. And now he's injected into the movie.
Mhm.
Nothing else
Mhm.
about him.
Mhm.
Moriarty injected into the movie. He's a corporate. You already know everything about him before you ever meet him, right?
Right, right, right.
Um, and I would say that that felt pretty true every time they shoved a character in after that, like Paul's character. When they shove him in, I'm very clear on who this is in the first 30 seconds, like,
We've got it. You've said it for us, and now we're just gonna see how he moves the plot along for us.
right, right.
Yep, and it does work for that reason. So yeah, I don't have a lot of notes on acting and characters other than that. And I.
Great actors. I think that they
Mhm.
took the material they were given and played with it very well.
Mhm.
Um, but no, there wasn't it's not the point, right? The point
Yeah,
wasn't to
yeah.
be a character
Mhm.
study, and they definitely it definitely wasn't a character study. I believe that anything Michael Moriarty is in could be a character study just because of who he is,
Yeah.
but that's beyond what I'm saying.
There's there's this unspoken depth to what he's saying that doesn't make any sense at the same time. You know, you can either take it as
he
completely
is
farcical and silly, or you can try to find something deeper in it.
he's
And
a
I don't know.
he's a
Couldn't tell you
very
which one was right.
interesting gentleman. I enjoy watching his acting. I think that he plays well. I really do.
The
But it's unique, right? And when you put him in a movie, that's who you're getting.
yes,
You're not
yes.
getting, Mo. You're getting Michael Moriarty,
100%. One thing I do love is every time they put him next to Chocolate Chip Charlie, Michael Moriarty is clearly so much taller
like
than
a
Garrett
foot
Morris.
taller than him. Yeah,
They always had him like put his hand on his head or something just to like point out the
yeah.
height difference. I was like,
When he first comes up though, and Chocolate Chip Charlie jumps off the hood of the car and goes karate kicks him, and then they stand up, and it's like this, and you're like, oh,
it's so good.
my
Um,
hands are registered as lethal weapons in the state of Georgia.
yeah, it's so good that line. Okay, we're gonna move in this little segue here. 5 things you likely did not know. Now, Adam, I don't know if you wrote down some facts that you want to pop out because you've been popping out a lot of facts this whole way through.
I did.
But
Uh,
please, yeah, then you go ahead and kick us off here.
let's see. I did actually write all this down. I just haven't looked at it yet.
That's one, this is I feel that.
Sound elements is too far, right? Creativity is too far.
Yeah, it's right
Practical
above creativity.
effects is too far. There's Jason, so it must be right here. Okay, so these are going to be kind of basic.
Okay.
I'm going to talk about the practical effects a little bit.
Okay.
I did notice on Instagram you were talking something about fish bones and stuff, but the stuff that they were eating was either Haagen-Dazs ice cream that was melting or yogurt.
Wonderful. That's a lot
Um,
nicer.
right. But for the explosions and stuff, they used like they had slime mixes back then, so they were using that, and they were using foam from fire extinguishers for a lot of
Al-
that stuff. So I thought
Also
that was really interesting.
much nicer. The fishbone scene, I think, from what I remember, is when the stuff is coming out of the factory in a large quantity because that was the cheapest way they could get it. But they didn't. It was when they didn't get any on anybody because it smelled too bad
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I do remember that. Yeah, I do remember them talking about
because they
that.
needed a gigantic quantity as opposed to anything else, and the fish bones apparently cheaper than anything else. Go figure.
I strangely in agriculture we use a lot of fish bone. We call it feather meal. So
Okay,
it's like
okay.
chicken and fish bones.
It makes a lot of sense. It's probably really good fertilizer. I don't know anything about agriculture. Don't ask me about agriculture. All right, number two. Chocolate Chip Charlie was originally envisioned as Arsenio Hall.
He was. I did read that
Yeah,
actually.
yeah. New World, the
Arsenio
executives.
Hall wasn't popular enough, right?
Exactly. So they went with Garrett Morris instead because they wanted someone more recognizable. Now, if New
Right.
World could go into the future and see the choice they made and how it played out, I bet you they'd be a little upset.
Does the
But
future play out the same way if he does this movie, right?
that's a wonderful question. I mean, does Arsenio Hall get
Don't
a
mess
talk
with
show
time.
if
He
he
did.
if
He
does he
did. He
still
got
get a talk show if he was against consumerism?
nope.
Yeah, and Garrett Morris. I mean, like, look, you can't hate on Garrett Morris. This is just an interesting little tidbit.
No, I thought that's awesome. I did hear that though. Um, One thing I liked about this movie is that all of the shots of extras, so were they in the grocery store or on the street or things like that, I am not a big fan of not paying your actors. That's not what I'm saying. But all of the extras in this movie are real people
Okay,
that are in the shots, especially in the city shots and things like that. So a lot of what you're getting are true reactions to what's going on, you know?
yeah, like, oh,
So there was actual people in the grocery store as well. But when they were doing the scene where they were filming the commercials and Moriarty comes in and does that whole thing, they were working in a union shop that day.
oh,
And
interesting.
this movie wasn't union. They weren't paying extras. They didn't have
Ooh,
union people, and
yeah,
that's a big thing in the movies, right? Like you'll get trashed for that. And so the union came down and was going to bust up the film. And Cohen sat down to him and told him, "Here's what the movie's about. Here's what it means. Like, I'm trying to get it done on no money." And the Teamsters said, "Let it roll. You can do it," because
that's
they
wild.
they agreed with his point.
Love that. I love that.
I thought it was pretty cool. Yeah.
I mean, so you
Pay
probably
your actors though.
yeah, you probably had Larry Cohen, then you had Michael Moriarty talking to the Teamster. You can't say no to Michael Moriarty when he starts talking.
No. But yeah, that was something interesting to me too,
Uh,
is that, there was that kind of he was a rogue filmmaker, Larry Cohen. He did a lot of things differently. He didn't ask a lot of permission ever with the things that he did. And that's audacious for somebody to do, obviously, but in the name of
mhm.
art.
Ask Werner Herzog how he feels about that.
Right, right.
Yeah.
In the name of art.
hmm Um, number four, the stuff was considered a flop. Larry Cohen blames that on the fact that a hurricane hit New York the day it was supposed to come out, so the newspapers couldn't get delivered to tell people that this movie was coming out.
That's 100% true. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I like that theory as much as any theory that I've heard.
So back in the day, back then, movies, it's not like it was now where you had a nationwide release all at once. It would open
Hmm.
in select markets, and the first market, number one, was always New York City. And after New York, then you would see it usually in Chicago. Then you'd see LA was one of the first, usually too, and then it would move up the coasts. Um, but that was like usually it came out movies, even big movies came out in big cities 3, 4 weeks before they would come to your town. And so that's when you would get all the articles and previews would start coming out. It would already be released in New York. That's where your previews and articles and all of this hype is coming from. His hype weekend, right? Because you kind of had to book your window of hype. And so he did. This is my day in the paper. I'm the biggest movie coming out. Like everything's going my way. And then the day that it was his day to be in the paper, they didn't get delivered. And now is he using that as an excuse for a flop? It's a really good one,
Yeah.
right? Like I would lean into it as well.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, I mean, as the person who made the movie, I'm sure that that makes him feel a lot better about it flopping either which way. Not better, but you don't have to think too hard about it. I can't find the actual amount that this movie made in theaters anywhere. As far as
I
I haven't
assume
tried
that's been
particularly hard, but
scrubbed, right? It did very well in VHS. It did very well in cult sections on
mhm.
VHS. Yeah, so I mean, it did have its place. Quite a few movies did that though at the time, just did nothing in the theater, and then us kids would find them on the cult VHS shelf. I mean, that's how I found like Peter Jackson, right? I didn't know what a Feeble was, but I rented the movie. You ever seen that? Meet the Feebles?
No, I actually picked up a copy on VHS like a month ago, and I haven't watched it yet, but I'm ready
All
and I'm
right. Well,
excited.
I mean, you just understand that it's very, very disturbing.
Oh,
You know that?
I've watched Bad Taste. I've watched Dead Alive.
It's more disturbing than those for sure.
I've heard, and I'm
It's awesome though. I have it on VHS. It's absolutely art, right?
you give
And
me those
Peter
edge cases,
Jackson
and I
is
gotta see it.
amazing. Um,
The fact
but
that he
yeah,
got to
same.
do those Lord of the Rings movies from where he started is just so brilliant. I love it. Whoever made that decision is such a wise person.
But the but who makes all the money off of the VHS and stuff isn't the artists really anymore after
No,
that. They
yeah.
sell it off to like Good Time. Back then it was like you get Good Times Entertainment or Vidmark or something to put your movie out for you, and then every actor would get a fraction of a cent for every tape sold. So you really had to have a big box office to get sprung into that like stratosphere of movie star. And I don't
Hmm.
think
Hmm.
anybody in that movie I would call, I think they're stars, but I don't think any of them were ever movie stars.
You're not talking about A list, B list, C list. These are just people who are in these movies you like, not someone who's like on the national level.
Right. How many people know who Michael Moriarty is? Like, we
Uh,
think he's fantastic, but like, it's
yeah.
a narrow, it's, especially now as we're aging up, it's a very narrow. Garrett Morris maybe a bit more in certain like stand-up comedy circles and stuff. He may be more popular, but like that's it.
Hmm.
Paul did very well for himself, but like I'm sure he doesn't talk about being in the stuff.
Yeah, that's not it for him. And then yeah, you can talk about the Bloom actors. Danny Aiello, who we haven't mentioned,
Oh
is probably the
yeah.
most famous of all the
So
folks in
he
this
came
film.
into that. Let's make this our fifth one. That deli I was talking about, that's where he picked up Danny Aiello too. They all hung out in
Wonderful.
that deli together. Yeah.
Oh man, and Danny Aiello showing up in this film for that particular scene where he's scared of the dog is just so wonderful. And this is a good point of Mo having like this intrinsic ability to get through everything.
Read.
This shows him actually being competent at what he says he does. Is when he's like, "Why are you scared of your dog?" Or why is your
Right.
master scared of you?" Just phenomenal.
So the dog was a stuffy and the dude was a stuffy. And the dog, I don't think liked it. I don't know because the dog went and showed him all the stuff, right? So
I
he left to go get something, and then the dog walked him to the kitchen. Well,
Mhm.
show me what's up, boy. And he looks in the door, and then he comes back downstairs, but that whole kitchen's just littered with the stuff, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, just looking for a glass of water. I'm okay." Um, why was the dog mad at him. If they, I know the dog was eating the stuff. There's also a note that the dog actually ate the stuff. They put sweet stuff on yogurt and fed it to the dog, so he really did eat it. But
Good. Wonderful.
was the dog not affected by the stuff like the
I
human was?
I was interested in it because like my immediate thought was that maybe this guy who worked for the FDA all these years didn't actually eat it and was just saying this stuff to like placate the dog because he knew what was up. He's like, if I don't say the right things, this
Then why
dog's
would he
gonna
be
kill me.
feeding it to his dog?
It's such a good question. I and
There
it's
was
complicated
no,
for that reason.
and here's the thing, there was nothing in the plot gave you any idea, just whatever you think it is.
And
That's
Danny
really what it was.
Aiello as a character
He was
was
great.
just there. He was great. His whole character was written just so that way they could find the name of that small town that I don't
Yep,
remember because there's
yep.
no other purpose for him except for he showed that the stuff was
Well, he
spooky.
was the head of the FDA, and me and my dog both eat the stuff, and it's great.
Hmm.
And everybody else on the FDA who passed the stuff either was on permanent vacation or dead. So
Yes.
he was the only one still living. So I just assumed that he was a stuffy, right?
Hmm.
Or he would
No,
have been killed off.
and that makes sense to me. The only reason I say any other way is because of the dog. Because otherwise, I really just don't understand why the dog attacks him.
I think the stuff doesn't affect the dog's brain like it affects the human's brain, and the dog knows that stuff is messed up, right? And is trying to get help. That's what I think.
The dog special effect where it shows the fake
I
dog in the
hate it. It
first
makes me
second with
so
this,
sad.
and it's such a
Do
hard
whatever you
cut.
want to people. Don't do
It
stuff to dogs.
it is such a hard cut because it goes from real dog to fake dog for like a quarter of a second to real dog again, and it's just one of the most harsh cuts in this movie.
Yep.
It's like gosh, but yeah,
Magic.
Danny Aiello is almost certainly the most famous actor in this film. And
I
even Danny Aiello at this point, I'm not certain how much of a household name he is.
I think he's one of those guys. If you see him, you know him,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
But I think he's an A-list actor because he's fantastic.
Oh
I
gosh,
think
yeah.
I think there's three or four A-list actors in this movie for me. But yeah, he's a bit part player most of the
Hmm.
time, right? He's
Hmm.
never. I don't know that. I can't think of anything he was a lead in. And
Uh,
I'm sorry, sir, because I'm sure you've been leads in many things, but nothing stands out to me.
the only one I can say that I think would count as a lead was Do the Right Thing. Um,
Okay.
because as the pizza shop owner in
Mm-hmm.
that film,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
he's not Mookie. But I would say he's at least the
Yeah.
second most important character. That I mean, he kicks off everything essentially.
He's a great bit actor, though.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, anything he's in, he elevates. I haven't seen anything where I see him and I'm like, this is awful. Or maybe I haven't watched enough, but
Like when Stephen Baldwin rolls across the screen and you're like, oh God, let's
um,
not, can we not do this?
that's great. I just watched the movie Virus the other day on the ship with I
Yeah.
think it's Stephen Baldwin. It might be one of the even further down the list
Bill, is
Baldwins.
it Billy though?
It could be. It really
That
could
might
be
be Billy
because
Baldwin.
I see you see his face. You're like,
There's
you're a
strings
Baldwin.
of them. If you're not Alec, you're just on the bench. You're a bench squad,
Hmm.
and they call you in when they need you.
Yeah, because it wasn't the guy who was in a Biodome, so it was a different
That
one.
one is Steven? That one's Steven. The blonde-haired one?
Yeah, okay.
I think his name's I
It's
don't know, man.
it's
They're all the
this
same
is this is
person.
fair because it's so hard to pick them apart after a certain level.
Alec Baldwin is the one on 30 Rock.
Yes, and he's the one who killed. He's the one who killed someone. Uh,
Yeah, he did.
and
Oops.
that's the whole thing. Okay, so we've talked a lot about creativity and cinematography. I'm gonna give
Matthew
you
Broderick.
Matthew Broderick.
We're going to talk about actors killing people. Go
Oh,
ahead.
okay, okay. Matthew, if you hear this, I don't know what to say. Okay, so the creativity in
Would you, you
cinematography.
know what I would say? Would you like to play a game of thermonuclear war? And then he's like, yeah, dude, I'll play thermonuclear
Yeah, whatever,
war with
dude.
you.
Let's go.
Chill
Let's go.
out, bro.
I've never. You're talking about war games, right? I've never actually
Yeah,
watched war games.
we'll have to do that one. It's fantastic. Um,
I've heard of it.
the computer logic of it being like an AI and sentient back then and what their thought of what that looked like compared to what we have now, I think it would be a great movie for you to do. I really do. It's right, it's the same sort of fear and idea that we have
Mhm.
today, but it's all monochrome green and the way it talks and like, oh, it's so good. It's
I love
dated. It's
I love
dated.
that. Creativity and cinematography for the stuff. I think this is where you can't really go wrong. It's a blob monster, but it's not portrayed necessarily as strictly a blob monster. It shows up in so many different ways. And the practical effects of this film are just their joy. Um,
I think that it's a coin of a movie, right? And that's something that I like. It was stylized,
mhm,
super over
mhm,
stylized when necessary, right? It
mhm,
really pushed that. It was like the candy of the time, right? You put wax
mhm,
on everything. It was shiny, it was bright, it was the stuff, it was portraying what it was supposed to be, and then the raw breakthroughs they would have, like going to the rundown city and stuff, like the cinematography and the difference between these two images outside of the point he was trying to make, I think is one of the finest parts of the film as far as cinematography goes. The going from something so stylized to something so raw, I think is something that's not really in a lot of movies. You either get a lot of stylization, all like 300 or something, where it's just stylized all the way through, or you get raw, you get gummo,
mhm. Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
and you don't see hybrids that often that come across as doing a good job of both.
Either that or that's specifically the point. Like I think of the movie like Elysium or like District 9 where that's the whole entire point of the film is that like
I
what
think
there's
that
these
even
things.
District 9 is very stylized in all areas that they show. It's all
Mhm.
done in the same filter, the same lens, the same stylization. And Larry Cohen's films, he even changes color palettes, right? He changes the film,
Mhm.
he changes the
Mhm.
cameras he's using for what set he's filming on. He uses worse quality things in the run downtown versus, like, he really makes a point to make the stuff in the advertising side and all of that very shiny and put a lot of extra into that, and did nothing for that city that he went to. It's just, this is what this city, and just showed it raw. And I really liked his ability to do that. Yet, and this is going to be, I almost feel like dumb saying it, but like, because the movie is not consistent, but if anything is consistent in the movie, it's its inconsistency.
Yeah. Yeah.
um and it is that shiny candy thing holding a mirror up to itself and seeing what it really is, and his ability to show that in the images that he shows, like the spider web in the door, like framing the doorway, versus the girl's head holding the stuff with the sign right behind her, framing
Yeah.
the
Okay.
same
Yeah.
corner, right? Like,
Mhm.
it is two sides of the same coin. It's the same thing, right? It's just, how is it presented to you? But it's both devoid of meaning and purpose, and like integrity, everything. It's devoid, and I think that's the point. It doesn't matter how you paint it. Hey, quit scratching. I don't think it matters how you paint it.
Yeah.
Um, it's the same car, color candy coat or rusted, right? It's the same thing.
Mhm.
Which and maybe I'm overthinking it, but
No, no, but this is a wonderful idea because you might be overthinking it watching it, but you can bet that the person who's spending time traveling out to these locations and setting everything up is also spending a lot of time thinking about it when they're getting prepared.
oh, it works. That
Mhm.
the town we can't remember the name of is the best, and they did nothing to it. Is the best set in the movie. It is amazing.
Let's
Why?
see.
Because it is. It just is. It's just, you can't force what it looks like, right? It's
Mhm.
not a set you can put together. Things only look like that naturally. And to go out and find that little slice of Americana, and exploit it like that, that's so good.
Let's see here. Okay, this isn't going to be overly helpful. Mount Marion Post Office in Mount Marion.
It's Mount Marion, Georgia, then.
It says on his way to a small Virginia town. So I don't know.
Oh,
I
Virginia.
I can't remember specifically because I know the Georgia's a different area. I thought he
Everything was
was in
being
Georgia.
forwarded.
Yeah,
So that city is the city where corporate headquarters, a bunch of people lived there or something, and then they all became stuffy slaves and forwarded all their mail to Georgia, right?
they all
And so
moved to
that
Georgia and
town
forwarded it.
was a town that was populated, and then all
Hmm.
of those people became slaves to the stuff.
Yep.
Is how I read it, right?
Yep. Yeah. It's what I got
And
out
then
of
if
it
you
too.
didn't do it, you died.
Yep. Because
Yeah,
they would chase you in the middle of the night into a
they
boat.
would force feed you the stuff. Yeah, into a boat.
Um,
Yeah, but they would push it off for you, which is very
they
nice.
they gave you a fighting chance. You know, they were evil about it. Um, yeah, I mean, so for like the standouts for me, and you already discussed them a little bit, is all of the like really clear marketing and branding. Like if Larry Cohen had decided to have been marketing and branding, he would have done a fantastic job. Clearly, because
If
the
this was a
stuff
product, it would have sold.
it would have sold really well. I bet. It could have fought,
Yep.
and that's
You
just.
know, he did, instead of doing previews,
Mhm.
as the movie was coming up, he just wanted to put stuff commercials on TV with no directed bad to what it was, just the
Oh
stuff and
man.
that it's coming soon. But they said that they couldn't do that because it might freak people out all of War of the Worlds. So they pulled that
Uh,
ad campaign. And I was like,
dang.
what? That
Yeah, that would have
could have
went
could have
so
gone
hard.
viral before
Yeah.
viral was a thing, man.
Yeah, like Neon, the marketing company that's so wonderful for horror movies nowadays, they could eat their hearts out with that idea. Holy cow.
Yeah, I
Bec-
thought it was great.
yeah.
I thought it was a great idea. I thought Larry Cohen was on the nose with that, but that was too real.
Yeah, yeah. They couldn't have that.
No,
People
no.
would be like, "I
Somebody
need to
would get,
eat stuff. Where is this
yeah,
stuff? It's supposed to be
where's
on the
this?
shelf."
So, for people who don't know, back in the day, Wendy's used to have a commercial with this old lady, and they would lift up their hamburger buns, and they were sitting there, and she'd go, "Where's the beef?" And she'd have a hamburger bun with barely any meat on it. That was the whole commercial. Everybody loved this old lady, though. She was like the California raisins, right? Like, everybody loved her. She was on all these commercials, and she's in the stuff. And they're at the fancy restaurant. It's one of those, that's my favorite commercial.
Yeah,
It's with the two old
yeah.
people. It's like a Grey Poupon commercial, right? But then all of a sudden it's the Wendy's lady, and she's like, "Where's the stuff?" Oh, it's
Her
so good.
her accent is the funniest thing.
Oh,
She's like, "Where's the stuff?"
yeah. Love her. Love her.
I posted that to the Instagram yesterday because I love that scene so much. It's just so funny.
That's
And
my
then
favorite commercial of them all because it's so
this
80s, right?
and the
Like,
stuff being above the world and it's showing it from like an outer space view. It's just such a phenomenal little thing. And the framing of that shot with the old TV, just like it looks like you're watching it in the middle of like you would say like a bedroom or something.
right.
And
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
just this commercial on. It's just wonderful. It's
It's the camera, the way he pulls back the
mhm.
scene, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, this isn't, this
Yeah.
is really what he's trying to do right
Hmm.
now,
Hmm.
and it's like that perspective change and everything always makes me like a little nauseous, like I feel like my body's moving, but he uses it to such good effect in this movie
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
I won't overly complain about it. But that was definitely a trope in those 80s movies, right? Like that hard camera angle change and practical effects, man, make people
Yeah.
sick.
Yeah. So cinematography and creativity, I think it's just all we've had a good discussion here. I think we've wrapped it up also a lot when we were talking about the story. So I'm gonna move on a little bit quicker here.
I
Um,
would say that it's stylized when it needs to be,
yep.
right?
Hmm.
I would say that the contrast is the whole point. The pushed image versus the truth, and but it's the same. That's kind of what I wrote down.
And I would say the only time I feel like there's even a little bit of a moment where it doesn't click on all cylinders for me is probably when the military is storming things because it turns into to a little bit. This is a nitpick. Like, let's be real here, but like, if it feels like the action scenes are the only bits that almost feel out of place.
Yeah, it's
Um,
well, it's forced for the time,
yeah.
right? That's
Hmm.
that's like your finales, right? Your big
Hmm.
moments, and I think that was at a time when films were being made where they felt forced to give you that moment in every
Hmm.
film, right?
Hmm.
I bought a ticket, I need that moment, right?
Right, right, right. And
show me,
that's
show
yeah.
me, show me where my money's going, right?
Yeah.
I watched Woody Allen. I don't feel like I got my money's worth. Like, show
I
me
only
something.
I only didn't laugh more than 3 times. Come on.
And I watched
Um,
Iron Eagle, and that was that was God's country.
um, yeah, so that was like my biggest nitpick on any of it, and that's so small because those scenes aren't even like a large portion of the film. They happen very fast. They get to the point and they move on.
Every scene happens very fast. When we're talking about the movie, the pacing is awful, and I'm not going to protect it. And I want
No,
to
yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
let me preface this by saying I'm old. In this movie, I was the same age as Jason, same kid. Not the same kid, but same age, and that was my life. Everything that he was doing looked exactly like my life at the time. So I'm very biased to this movie, right? I'm like, the sets are amazing and everything looks so good. No, it was just the 80s. But my glasses, I all I see is wow, they're doing such a good job of my childhood, right? That wasn't intentional. That was just a product of the times. And so I let so much slide by because of that. The pacing is trash. The cuts are terrible.
Yep,
They're
yep.
hard, they're jolting, they're disorientating. They make you catch up to the movie yourself in your own head.
Mhm.
They feel unscripted and out of place. I do have that complaint about the movie. I feel like that may not be the director's fault. I think that may be a production studio or editor's fault,
Mhm, mhm.
especially you telling me he wanted to run a longer cut. But whoever edited this movie and made those cuts is bad at their job.
Oh, 100%, yeah. Yeah. I look at it this way too because 'cause I'm thinking some of these scenes,
I don't
like
want to be harsh, but brother, I'm telling the truth, right?
no,
Like
you
it's
100%, 100%.
bad.
Because some of these scenes, like, a few of them drag a little bit, and I'm like, "How can you have a scene that drags even a little bit in this movie where you were just hard cutting us from one thing to the
Right.
next?"
As soon as the movie started, you put a brick on the gas pedal and never took it off. Like, how
Right.
is this part out of any part how is this so blasé, right?
Right. Like, when they get to the quarry, and I think there's a couple times in the quarry where I'm like, "Okay, this is sitting for a long time right here,"
They
and then
paid
I
for
can
the
feel it.
set and they were going to use it.
Yes. So I agree. I don't have a lot of good things to say about the editing or the pacing, and I do agree with you. It is likely just the fact that he had to cut down a larger film because you can feel that these things were probably explained. The romantic interest is like the hardest one. I actually rewind it just to make sure I didn't miss a scene where they actually went to the
It
date or
feels
something.
like that's where you put a commercial when you're watching it on TV.
Mhm.
It is such a jolting thing because it feels like we've jumped ahead a month, but
Because
it's under 24 hours
and they're
and it
walking on the
really
street, just talking. Like they could have been talking as they were before. We don't even know that
yeah.
that much time has gone by, but all of a sudden she's talking about how guilty she is about creating the stuff, and you're
Yeah.
like, wait a minute, she doesn't even know about it.
And they're in an obvious romantic relationship that is pretty serious.
Yeah,
Like, serious enough to abduct and raise a child together.
yeah. It
And
is
that went
jarring.
from him like catching her off guard at a shoot and lying to her about who he was and what he was doing. Yes, he does come clean later. She doesn't care. She's like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
the whole pretense of what's happening here is false. He told you he was a multimillionaire, was going to give you a bunch of money, and now he's not, and he's been using you the whole time. But I'm in love with him, and we sleep together.
Yeah.
Why? Where does this happen? Where did it come from?
You're just forced to accept that Mo's got such charisma that he can just change this whole
He just
this whole
rolls a nat
relationship.
20 every time.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. It's easy. He's like, "Yeah, well, I don't actually. I'm not a billionaire, but look, we talked, and you must like me now." And she's like, "Yeah, I sure do." You're
A
exactly
little
right.
bit of that Han Solo.
Yeah, so I agree. I don't have like a lot of. I have a lot of critiques. There's almost so many critiques. It's not even worth getting into. The pacing is off. The editing is just. It's confusing. And
Yeah,
again, Mo telling us what is happening in certain scenes is the only way to actually understand what is happening, and that's kind of bad.
right.
You don't love exposition dumps that are necessary, so that way your audience could keep up a little bit.
Thank
Because
goodness for them, though.
yes, I'll go back to it again. When he told me that the trucks were leaving in the dead of night, so that way no one would know where the quarry was, I was so happy because I was like, well, what? Why are they like hiding
Why
from
don't
the
they just
trucks
do
when
this
it's
all day? They don't have to sleep.
yeah, exactly. It's like It's like no one's in this town. It's just quarries out the and
And the
it's
other thing I don't understand about that is everybody in the town is owned by the stuff and the sheriffs. Who cares if you're driving at night anyways? Who's going to get you?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah,
Like
right.
that I didn't get. I was like, I feel like they could be driving these 24/7. But thank you for letting me know why they're not.
Yes,
Like
exactly. Exactly. It was very necessary. So there
this
is
is why
this
we're
little bit.
shooting at night because during the day they use this property for work.
They don't actually know that we're here. We've brought a
Right.
lot of people in.
Dude,
Um,
that could be a real thing. It could.
the truck the truck going renegade and going past the cops that are waving it down in like the worst way possible. I wouldn't be shocked if like you're like, oh yeah, those are just real cops.
No, those are real cops. They were really confused.
Yeah, they're like, why are you running away? There's nothing here. This is an abandoned mill. Come on.
Uh,
You gotta go.
yeah, I'm the kind of person that enjoys bad things.
Hmm.
I'll eat a circus peanut. I
Dude,
will,
circus peanuts are good. I don't.
you know what I'm saying? I enjoy a bad thing. And, but something has to be really extra terrible for me to like say that that makes it art. And this doesn't cross that threshold for me.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not bad enough. It's just poorly done.
Hmm, hmm.
And some movies, I will say, it's so far, it's so bad, unintentionally bad that it's amazing. This is not one of those films, sadly.
No, this movie has something that reminds me of. This is a newer film. I don't know if you've seen Exorcism Believer, right? It's this
Mm-mm.
sequel to the Exorcism that takes place forever away, and it's just a series of scenes that happen independent of each other, just continuously going on. And you're like, what is going on? None of this tracks at all. And this movie would almost do that if it weren't for the fact that Mo keeps you grounded so well.
Yeah, he's the narrator, and you know,
Because otherwise you'd
the
be like, whoa, all of a
Morgan
sudden we're on a
Morgan
mill.
Freeman wasn't narrating yet, so he just had to say it out loud
Exactly.
during the scenes. Yeah,
Exactly. They didn't have Harrison Ford to tell you the whole
but
plot
it
of the movie
feels
for you.
like they tacked those things on due to they knew it was going to be edited, right? It's like,
Like
hey,
it's like 3.5 hours for this film. There's no way.
will you give me this line too? Because I'm pretty sure we're gonna have to plug this in.
No one's gonna know why we're here if we're not.
Right.
Um so we'll talk about sound and music. So um just the music, I'm giving it I love the music in this film because the jingles. I can't hate against the music in this film with the jingles being as catchy as they are. Like years after I've watched this movie, I still get the stuff song stuck in my head pretty consistently. Soundscape, I personally didn't notice any like missing sounds, and I'm not usually listening to this on like nice headphones or anything, so I'm not in depth on the sound
I
effects.
did. I listened to him on studio headphones through the
Okay,
Betamax.
okay, all right.
The the soundtrack, the score itself,
Mm-hmm.
that's an Anthony Goofin soundtrack. He is extremely obscure, but he was
Okay.
a super synth artist back in the day, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he had a lot of that music playing was very Spirit Halloween sounding, like
Okay,
when
all
you
right.
walk in and set all the machines off, at once. Which a lot of synth was back then, but
Mm-hmm.
just kind of that multi-layered synth and atonal notes, and then busting into he didn't do the stuff marketing stuff. I honestly think that was all Larry Cohen.
That's wild.
Um, Goofin just did the soundtrack for the movie, so there's all that undertone, but it's music, it's synth music playing. When you take that out of context of the movie and listen to it, it's on its own. What I say about it, it reminds me of a cigarette, like the smell, like it sounds like a cigarette would smell. It's like gross and like pungent and at the same time smooth and relaxing, right? It I love it. It makes me feel a way, and it makes me feel a way that's not comfortable. And when music can do that to me, I love it every time. The sound effects in the movie are, I don't, people cleaning toilets and punching dough, and it's all just really glorps and gloops and blish, and I think all of them are great. I think they did a
Mm-hmm.
really good job. I don't know if they used canned sounds or if they made the sounds up on site. Usually back then they would just go through the kitchen and make a bunch of sounds,
Yeah,
and
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I thought the stuff sounded like stuff to me. When it was oozing out of things, the noise it was making sounded correct for what it was doing. When the things rose up out and you had the dripping sound effects, I think it all played very well. I
The
think they did a great job.
the the I remember the farting
The
sounds when they're on the side
screaming
of the
too,
field.
when the
Yeah,
mouths
yeah.
open,
Hmm.
yeah, I think that was well done too. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to update. Richard Seaman wrote the tunes for the jingle.
Was he
He
like
has
a was he a real ad
abs
exec?
no, and as far as I can tell, he has absolutely zero other credits for anything else. So it could
He
be Larry Cohen.
killed it.
He did. He really did. Yes, Richard
That guy
Seaman.
had a job.
Yeah, he's just he probably worked at the grocery store and he's like,
Somebody should have hired him, right?
yeah, seriously. I mean, come
I
on,
know what the
anyone.
stuff does, and I would still buy it.
Yeah, get it on the shelf. It's got a good color palette too. It's just pretty
The
awesome.
color palette is perfect,
Hmm.
but I really like that burnt orange green palette of the late 70s, early 80s, and then it kind of went into pastels and autumns like browns, and they do that pink and then that kind of other orangey pink and then
Hmm.
that hard brown,
Yeah, yeah.
and it is just a bag of Easter candy, right? Like the little
Hmm.
chocolates with the carnauba wax. That's what it reminds me of
You know,
every time.
I wouldn't have put that together at
Smarties.
all, but yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, it's pure candy. I love it because
It,
that was the exact colors of the candies in the Smarties bags back
and
then.
it's funny because I don't think you'd see a hard brown almost anywhere nowadays.
The brown M&Ms were the best ones because those are the only ones without the fake food coloring in it. Other than that, you're eating like red dye 750 or whatever it is that makes you die.
Well, that's the stuff that gives you all the energy. You know what I mean?
The
It's not
good
good
energy.
energy. Yeah,
The good energy.
you get a little bit manic
When
after each
dad,
ready.
the family's sitting there and he turns to Jason and he's like, we don't get tired anymore. Like,
Now that
why
we're
would you
eating
have,
properly,
yeah, now that we're eating properly, we don't get tired anymore. It's like, dude, whoa.
I love it. She's like, yeah, it's like we're on a diet.
You are. You're
It's
doing
so
a
good.
good
It's
job.
so good. Yeah, okay, and then that was my thought. Is I didn't hear anything in the sound like effects department that was missing, which I feel like a lot of movies during the early '80s, even high budget movies, had sound effects that just would miss noises, just
Yeah,
completely just miss them. I don't know what editing sound
right.
effects
But
looked like
totally
on a
off
film back
pace
then.
of what's happening
Hmm.
in the scene, right? Like a
Yeah.
glass drops and then you hear it 2 seconds later, you know?
One of the
But
biggest offenders for this is Escape from New York, and I love that film, but oh my
me too.
gosh, the sound effects are terrible.
Yeah. No, they did a good job with it, I
Hmm.
think.
Hmm.
I don't think there was a lot for them to screw up though. At the same time, I think it was a low bar.
So let's move into our last little bit because this will wrap it up pretty nicely here. Let's talk about our three favorite scenes of the film.
Hmm.
So this is just drop your three favorite scenes, side on scene. We can have the same one, so it doesn't really matter. And so in which case, Adam, I'm going to let you go ahead pop off.
Okay. My first favorite scene is the stuff headquarters, right? So when they arrive at the stuff, and it's that kind of sinister sequence of where everything has those candy coated colors all over it, right? And everything's being like super fake and professional. This is when Mo and the ad exec first show up on the private jet and they leave Jason behind.
Right.
But it's very military, right? And it's military dressed up as dessert, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the
Hmm.
other side of the coin of Paul's character. And for me, it's just like this authoritarian move wrapped in slogans and marketing, right? It was more about control. The scene was more about control than it was about the marketing or the actual stuff, right? It was about control and power. And it was a show of control and power. Every car has our name on it, everybody's armed, and you are under our watchful eye. And if you get out of line, we will kill you,
Hmm.
right? And it's
Hmm.
like, this idea that up to that point, if you hadn't gotten it yet, like these people are an army that are trying to like, so it's this really sinister flipping of the stuff from, oh, the stuff isn't bad. People are bad, right? So I would say that that was one of my favorite scenes. I really enjoyed the professionalism hiding the real violence that was happening. I thought that was good. My second scene, and we talked about this earlier, so I'll make it quick, was Jason and the tanker. right?
Yeah, yeah.
I love the helpless feeling, how he's cut off from the world while the outside's being devoured, right? And that's what you are when you're a child or when you're innocent like that, or you aren't given the facts and you aren't shown what's happening, you're just trapped. And everything's falling apart around you and there's nothing that you can do and you don't even know what's happening to fix it. You just know everything's terrible, right? And so it's this feeling of helplessness, trappedness. It's a very, and I think Jason plays it very well. I think it's such an intense scene though that's very introspective, I think.
Hmm. Hmm.
I think it could have gone a bit deeper, but I get what he was getting at and I do appreciate it a lot. And then the diner scene, man. I
Yeah.
big fan. And you know why? It's because when they walk in, it's every southern diner you ever see in a movie, right?
Hmm.
The
Hmm.
dudes with the overalls and the trucker caps, and you have Flo the waitress, and everything seems very normal. And then how sinister it becomes at the drop of a single word, right? Do you guys have the stuff? Moriarty asks, right? Everybody in the restaurant turns and looks at them with that empty, stuffy stare. You know what I'm
Hmm.
talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah. Hmm.
And for me, it's a lot what people do today. They're using politeness to mask venom, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's more of a social truth than it is like a horror movie for me at that point. They could have said anything. They could have been anybody. They could have been the wrong race or the wrong sexuality in the wrong city at the wrong time. It was portrayed as the stuff, but for me it felt very real, that your things are sinister underneath the fake candy coating and smiles, right? And so all of the things the scenes I like kind of all point to that. Like, it's stylized when necessary.
Right.
That's my feeling about this whole movie, and I think these three scenes show it the most. Um, you have two scenes that are super like tropes, right? Like that you've seen in other movies, and then the middle scene I talked about is literally inside of a metal tube in a truck, right?
Yeah.
Nothing, no scene. But they all say the same thing, and I think that's why I like them. I think that's why that's awesome.
No, no, that's wonderful. I love that because my three favorite scenes go in a very different direction. I
Chocolate chip Charlie's head blowing up.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Chocolate chip
It's a
Charlie
good scene.
stuffy reveal. I mean, I just don't know.
That
I
was right
can't.
there.
Yeah, I can't imagine how this scene isn't just like in the forefront of anyone's mind who's seen this movie. Like, if you've seen this movie before and someone says, "Let's watch the stuff," I like that's got to be the first. Like, oh man, that's the one where the guy's head blows up at the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which that's just like primitive lizard brain part. But man, they did such a good they did such a good job of it. And like the lead up to it, the little subtle hints that this was gonna happen beforehand, where he's like,
Also, and
"I've
like
seen
I'm
this
a
stuff come out
broken
of the body."
record, but the kindness masking venom again, because
Hmm.
Charlie's being the nicest guy in the world until he's not,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
then the vet, ah, it's so good.
It just
Yeah,
gets
you're
him
right.
right there.
Good
Yeah,
scene.
and the I really do love that build where it's like, I've seen what it looks like when the stuff leaves someone's body. And she's like, "Oh, you have?" And he's like, "Yeah, let's go talk about it." And you're like, and even if you haven't seen it, you're like, "Oh no, this is bad. This is bad news." Because Charlie don't talk like that.
No.
Um, I also really, this is what the first scene that Mo is introduced when he is talking about the sweaty palms and he is establishing his character as this guy who doesn't care about who you are. He will establish dominance. He will find out and he will get whatever he needs out of the situation.
Yeah.
Um, and then he even leaves the boat punching a dude in the face.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
what does that guy say to him, the CEO? Something like, "I don't think you're as dumb as you look." And he goes, "Nobody's as dumb as I look."
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
like
It's so funny.
he just told you he's smarter than all of you in this room,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
After telling you that you were nervous to meet him. Like,
Hmm.
yes.
It's what makes Mo's character work for me, because I think without this introduction scene where he just walks into a room of big wigs and completely takes control of the situation, you would have a hard
Sweaty
time.
hand, sweaty hand.
Sweaty palm, another sweaty palm.
Oh,
Wow.
look at that. So good though.
Because I mean, everything after this, Mo's character would be
We should
way too
start doing that to
confident, way too
people in
confident.
public now. When next time you shake somebody's hand, go, "Oh, sweaty palm." And see how they
I, I bet you would go very similarly. This is one of those things where when he does it, you're
What are
like,
you
I
gonna
could see
say
this
about it to
working.
the person, right? What are
You
you gonna
can't
be
deny
like?
it because then you're
No.
insecure. But if you
Yeah,
also agree with it, then I don't know what that means. So,
right.
um, Mo's introduction just sets up the whole film with Mo. And then
He's very good at putting people into a position where they have no win
yep,
from, right?
yeah,
And I
yeah.
think that his character is the saboteur. They play that very well with him. That he puts you in a non-winning position every time he speaks, right?
And we get that like he can use catchphrases to almost manipulate people because
Right.
you know, like you we
But
were talking
but
about
don't make
earlier.
him
Yeah,
hit you,
yeah.
right? Because if he hits you, your head will explode or you'll just fall over.
One
He's
punch man. Every time he
Yes.
hits someone, they're knocked out, no matter where
Or
he hits them.
literally caves their head in.
Yes. Um, and then my third favorite scene is the family scene when Jason pretends to eat the stuff. Just because how quickly the comedy of the situation turns into eeriness, but the eeriness is almost brought about by a marketing ad campaign within a family and how actually terrifying it would be to have your family live out like ads are portrayed on the television screen. Like that is not what real life is like. And if it is like that, it's not a good thing. It is a terrifying thing.
So this was after Jason destroyed the grocery store. He went home and they grounded him
Mhm.
forever.
Mhm. Mhm.
And he comes downstairs and he looks in the garbage and it's all stuffed containers and all the food, actual food, is in the other garbage can piled up. They threw out all the food. Everything's just stuff in the house
Mhm. Mhm.
now. And he comes down thinking he's in big trouble and everything, and like everything's gonna be maybe kind of normal. And then I can't. You tell me the line, but when
The
Dad turns around and oh,
um
so good.
he's like, "Look who finally decided to join us." And then
Yeah, join. Look, the join us part. The way he says
mhm.
it is
Yeah.
very like what was that movie called back in the day? Freaks.
Uh
Um,
the it was an invasion of the body snatchers, but I don't
you know what
remember,
I'm
but
talking about though, where they're like, join us.
yes.
It's so atonal the way it comes out of his mouth. That guy's a great actor. He's a real asshole. I think in real
He
life he's probably a jerk because he's such a good job
mhm,
of it.
mhm. And just him switching and doing that smile that he does is just terrifying. The whole
It's
yeah,
like, did
you
they put dentures in his mouth for that shot though? Because
I
his
w-
teeth were,
perfect. And also the line where he gives him the stuff. He says, "You go upstairs and you eat this, and then when you come back down, you'll be ready to join the family." He says it again, and you're like,
yeah,
"Okay, I know exactly what's up." And you
yeah,
get Jason going upstairs, coming back down after he flushes it and finds it moving again, and he eats the shaving cream.
yeah. He
And the
does eat
family
shaving cream.
knows immediately. They
Yeah,
know immediately. They see him eat it, and they're like, "Oh, that wasn't the most delicious thing he's ever had. Get him."
he pukes in the back of Moriarty's car after he abducts him, and
Moriarty
And
doesn't even care.
he's like everybody eats some shaving cream sometimes, and they just drive off hard cut, and then they're pulling up to an airplane at the airport, a private jet. Finally, he says, because who knows how long the drive was? Obviously, 30 seconds.
Yeah,
Because he
yeah.
goes, "Could you crack the window?" So you've been driving with the puke smell trapped in the car the whole way, and you waited till you got to the plane to crack the window.
Right, right, right,
Did you
right.
just
He's
drive across the street?
This is one of those things. Mo is simultaneously the most like terrifying character to half the people he meets, and also the chillest dude that's ever existed. Like nothing can get under his skin, not even the
Well,
stuff.
I mean, he became that child's father very quickly. He was a good dad. He left his kid on the airplane, said, "Don't worry about it. I'll just fly you somewhere random if I don't come back." He really took responsibility for that child and
Yes,
his
yes,
safety.
yes.
I mean,
And
he knew he was in that truck and saved him, right? That wasn't just luck.
no, and he definitely stopped as soon as he could. Not
This
waited
is
until
this
the
is this
police
is
let him in.
sarcasm, by the way, for
Hmm.
anybody that doesn't know. He had no idea where this child was. He could have been dead. Nobody cared.
Pure luck that this kid was fighting the stuff and was making noise. I mean, we don't talk about like the lack of oxygen in that truck because I don't know if there was any, but
I mean, food safe trucking containers are generally oxygen filled because they like to ruin the food before it gets. No, they suck all the air out of those. I mean, he would be dead. But they
yeah,
just put just enough stuff in there that he wasn't submerged in it. It like had to come after him. They don't really utilize those trucks very well.
no, 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 and maybe that's because the stuff, since it's sentient, it likes its own space. That's me
I
giving
mean,
it a lot of
I
headway.
will not stuff shame. If it needs its space, it needs its space. I
Yes.
don't know much about it. It's something I don't know.
Okay, so Adam, let's move on to our final reviews of the film here.
I
And this is gonna look like whatever you want it to look like. I have a rubric, but I don't expect anyone to go by my rubric because I'm just some dude who made up a rubric at some point. I'm gonna let you go first, Adam. Unless you want me to go first,
Here's
if
what I'm
you
gonna
can go
say
first.
about movies and rating them. And this goes back to like Siskel and Ebert with me.
Mhm.
I feel like putting a number on anything or a this is good or bad on anything isn't my place.
Mhm.
I think that it is, I don't think that I'm an expert, I guess. I think there's people that know a lot more about movies than I do. So here's how I'll rate it on an enjoyability scale. How much did
Okay.
I enjoy it?
Yes.
I enjoy this movie a good 7 out of 10. I
Okay.
really do. I think that it is charming. I think that it is beautifully stylized, but that is because of the time and who I am. I think the acting is amazing. I think all of that outshines how bad the cuts and pacing are. If that part wasn't there, it would be a hard 3 out of 10 movie. It would be in that maybe I'll watch this someday if I'm really want to punish myself. But Moriarty saves that movie in he saves the movie for real in the movie, and he
Mhm.
saves the movie in my scoring as well. Without him, without his voice, without the way he carries the film, this film could have easily, I wouldn't even like it.
Mhm.
I love the corny effects. I love all this stuff. It's what I want out of a movie most of the time, which is make me think a little bit, but also entertain me.
Yeah.
And you don't have to spend a bunch of money to entertain me, and you don't have to have a good script to entertain me. You just have to be making art and be passionate about what you're doing, and that sells for me. So 7 out of 10. I like it.
Yep.
I like this movie a lot.
And you make a wonderful point. I have discussed this in past pods. I don't do this every single time for just I can't remember to say it. No expert opinions here. These are all just like subjective, 100%. I once again am a random dude who made a random rubric, but that's only because now I've done so many films that I couldn't figure out what scores I wanted to give them because I couldn't decide if I loved it or hated it. That a rubric made it make way more sense. Um, so please, anyone who's listening to this, just take it for this. Our Andrew was with us. He rated on a rewatchability scale, which I think was
Oh,
a good
that's
one
a good
too.
one. Yeah.
So it's all arbitrary. For me, I'm giving the story a 3, which means that there's plot holes that require some kind of suspension of disbelief. But they're all right. They're acceptable. That's fine. The story,
Huge.
100%. But in this sort of film, I'm not really hurting. Yeah, it doesn't hurt us too much. There are exposition dumps. They're done relatively well within the film, just because you have to have them there. Like we talked about Moriarty so many times. If we didn't know what was going on, he let us know at least a little bit, so we could piece it together. The acting, I'm giving it a 3, not because I don't think that there is anything particularly off-putting about the acting in this film, just that I don't really also think that it elevates it in any particular. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Now, again, this is based on a rubric, but this is well, we'll go on. We'll talk about it later. Cinematography, creativity. I'm giving that a 5. I love the creativity in this film. I love the cinematography. It's not always like the perfect shots. There's not like a lot of mise en scene and all this, but you know what? It doesn't need it because it has its own style based for
Yeah.
it.
And it's absolutely stylized when it needs
Mm-hmm.
to be,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Yeah,
that's such Larry Cohen work in general.
just this is wonderful. Editing and pacing. I gave it a 2, and I feel like I'm
Ooh, I
being.
wouldn't even give it that. You're being
I
so
was
generous.
I was gonna say I'm being generous, but that's only because my rubric says if I give it a 1, the movie should have been a 15-minute short. And that's too harsh for this.
I mean, it could have been 45 minutes
Yeah, but this one it's
it
impossible to
also could have been
follow
three and
pretty
a half
much.
hours, right?
Hmm. And the again the biggest issue for me isn't even always the jump cuts. It's just that there are actually scenes in this movie where it drags, and it's like, why are these scenes not shortened down a little bit so I can get just a teeny bit more of the understanding of why we're here for even a
Right.
second?
You're feeding me white bread over here when you could have given me filet
Yeah.
mignon over here. Like, what's the point? I get it. Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. And then
Just
sound
if you're
music.
gonna waste time, let's waste it on
Yeah,
exposition
yeah.
of some sort.
If you're gonna make me care about a relationship, show me the relationship. Don't just be like, it
Sure.
existed. Now this is perfect. Trust me.
It was the 80s, and how they did not have a hotel scene that showed bosom is beyond me, because that was in every 80 movie there was, right?
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
was the trope, especially those B horror films like
Well,
that.
I
So,
one of the things that I love about the relationship, this is going a little bit off of the review here, but is that every scene that like they're in an even vaguely intimate setting, Nicole is just cracking her joints.
oh,
She's
the neck
cracking her
pump
neck.
in
Yeah.
bed and then her fingers. Yeah, you're totally right. I
Yeah,
just thought about that. But it's a trope of hers, right? Like
yeah,
that's
yeah. It's who she is. She's a
and
joint
but
cracker.
Moriarty looks at her when she cracks and looks at her. And this is the first scene after they're a couple, looks at her fondly, like, oh, oh, I'm so used to this. This is her quirk. You
Exactly.
just
That's
met this lady.
they establish it like this has been like a 20-year relationship where she
Yeah,
does this
yeah,
every single time they hang out. And it's
yeah,
like, but dude, this is like the first time you've ever spent the night with her, right? It has to be
yeah.
because it can't have been that much time passing here.
Is
But
that the hotel that he took her back to from the shoot?
no, it's the one
That
that
was
they get
beyond that.
attacked with the
Okay,
stuff.
right,
Yeah.
right, 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 right. Because I think
It's
he said he was at a
complicated.
fancy hotel, because that was not a fancy hotel.
No, 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 no.
That
That
bed had magic fingers.
and it had some dude who could just walk in without a key, so just yell at them and then get killed by the stuff. So sound music, I'm giving that a 4. I love so much of it, but this you can convince me to give this one a 5 if you tried really hard. But I gave it a 4, and I feel like that's fair. So that
I think you're right at a 4, because other things exist that are so good,
mhm.
and this doesn't touch some things. I think 4, you're even a bit generous, honestly.
The jingles, it's really the jingles. They just
It's
elevate it for
candy
no reason.
coated goodness, dude. It
It's
is
so
low calorie candy coated goodness.
I mean,
Goes down smooth.
I could see every single person being like, "Oh, I gotta go to the grocery store get some of that stuff."
I
Um,
would eat it. I'm telling you.
that,
No
that
calories, tastes delicious. You can eat as much as you want and you don't gain weight. Like, come on, man.
it even has no artificial sweeteners, and it very
That's
clearly
nothing.
delegates that.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful use of showing marketing is
What did
being as silly
they
as it is.
fall on it being? It wasn't bacteria. They were kind of saying it was a life form. God, I can't remember what they said it actually was.
They were talking like I thought I remember something about fungus, but maybe I'm wrong in that lab scene. Um, I don't remember.
I don't think they ever really tell you. I think that's part of the movie.
Yeah, they
Is
just allude that they can't figure it out. You can set it on fire.
you can burn it, yes.
uh,
But
I
let's remember at the end when he breaks down the window, he does shoot it with a gun and it does have an effect on it.
there's a kid and a lady in there. He's just firing his gun off. It was like perfect,
Yep.
wonderful.
The
Uh,
only time in the movie that anything but fire affected it.
and
We
just
paid for these bullets. We're going to use them.
what if you want to be really entertained, go back to that scene where he's standing through the window and like he's crouched
They're
over
like
and
in the sound studio and he's trying to get in. Yeah.
look at his face, because in that little half-second cut where they show Moriarty again, he is smiling so big that looks like full on just an actor moment where this guy's like, this is ridiculous, and they caught him smiling and they're like, throw that in the film. That
I
gives
told you
me
the budget had one pane of glass, brother. That was it. So they had to get the shot.
I've got 6.5 out of 10, which is pretty good. I think it punches above that as far as watchability. Like, watch
You
this
and I are
film.
right there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's why I love the rubric. Is it seems to somehow always work out some way. Um, yeah, and it's a watchable film. If you're having a film night and you want to throw on something to entertain people, like this is it. Like they're gonna see some stuff in this, and you could theoretically have it on in the background, quiet, and someone will look at it and be like, "Wow, why is that coming out of that dude's mouth?"
Right.
Um,
It's a film that you can get out of what you want to get out of it, though. If you just want to get a action adventure with some silly stuff and some bright flashy colors and just
mhm.
watch brain rot, it will give you that.
Yeah.
If you want to look at it for what Cohen was really trying to say with the film, it'll give you that. If you
Mhm.
want to take that logic that he did there and apply it to politics or news nowadays or things of that nature, it is starkly like, oh, but like I
Mm-hmm.
think that it's all that's corporatism and politic identity and all that. It's very intertwined nowadays, anyways. But um, I think that there is a limit as to how like deep this movie is, right? I think that calling out consumerism and things is scraping the surface of social economic problems, right? But
Mm-hmm.
a lot of films don't even do that. So you can, for a
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
people, you can look at it. Maybe it teaches you something in a deeper way, but it does cross both of those lines. Like it's not boring. It's
No.
fun. The movie's a
Yep.
lot of fun, and it's got depth to it if you want to look for it.
And I will say this, as far as someone who is, I went to school for environmental science when I first started off, right? And you have to watch so many of these like public service announcements or like videos of people like cleaning up for like, rivers and be like, this is why littering is bad. This is way more entertaining, and you're probably more likely to get a friend to enjoy this than you are to get them to enjoy one of those films. Trust me on
That is
that.
true. They don't shove the point down your throat,
Right, right.
except for literally at one point in the movie.
You have to eat this. Yeah, so 6. So we got a 6.5 and a 7. That is right on there. Um,
Would
the
I watch it again? Yes. Will I
Yes.
watch it again? Yes. Of course I will. It's a 5 year for me. It's like every 5 years I put it on and I enjoy it every time.
This is one of the first Blu-rays that I bought when I was collecting Blu-rays. Is before I even had the Blu-ray player. I saw it and I was like, I should get that, and I don't regret it. And it's sitting
If
here.
I've got something on Betamax, I like it a lot,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because finding Betamax is impossible. So if I have it on Betamax, that means that it's on my recently watched shelf pretty
Sick,
often.
sick, sick. All right. So, Adam, thank you for joining me. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you,
Um,
man. This was awesome.
Absolutely. It's fun to talk about movies. It
I
really
can
is.
talk about movies nonstop. This is I love
You
it.
know what? It shocks me because every time I'm like, well, I don't know what else I could say about a movie, and then I just watch another movie, and I'm like, oh, that's right, it's a whole different thing. We get to talk
You
about
and I
whatever we
could
want.
continue to talk about this stuff for probably four
Mhm.
more hours if we wanted
Exactly.
to, and I probably wouldn't get bored. There's enough there's enough happening in the movie that there's more to talk about than runtime, right? And I feel
100%.
like that's when a movie, if you can talk about a movie for longer than it ran on the screen and like actually still be making valid points about it and how you feel about it and still be excited about it, it's probably a pretty good movie.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can tell by some of those films that we've
Because
watched.
currently we are 40 minutes or something over the runtime of
Yeah,
the film.
yeah,
So,
and we haven't even touched on a lot of it.
so
Um,
much of it.
I was okay. So, the next film we're gonna do is it's the Terminator by James Cameron from 1984. It's the first one. That will be coming out in 2 weeks after this releases. I don't have the dates in my head. Don't sue me. Just figure it out. That said, must be a side effect of eating too much dessert, an urge to migrate.
It's a great quote.
I
It's
love
such
it.
a great quote.
Thank you again, Adam.
Absolutely. Anytime.